Aita for crying when my boyfriend let his best friend's wife alter the dish I made for dinner. My boyfriend, 28M, and I, 22F, met at work 2 years ago. Technically I was working part-time during undergrad and he was a customer, but after a couple of months, we started going out. I really love this man and nothing has happened on this scale before, so I'm very confused about it. My BF has a very tight group of friends. I am well acquainted with them, and their girlfriends. One of them, Dave, just is married to Ellie, fake names. Ellie is an excellent cook and often hosts dinners, and everyone brings a dessert to those dinners. I am the youngest in the group, so most times they brush off my requests for contributing or bringing in a dessert. However, the last time I asked Dave and Ellie if they wanted anything extra like wine or some sweet dish for dinner, they said I could bring one of those sweet dishes I make for my boyfriend. I'm Indian, and even though I can't cook as well as my mom, and I'm in a different country for studies, I called my mom up and had her teach me properly how to make a specific Bengali sweet which is my favorite. I had my friends taste it and they said it was great. My boyfriend ate some and said it was excellent. Except, last night, I greeted Ellie and kept the dish in the kitchen. When the food was brought out and my boyfriend told everyone I made it, I saw that someone had added cinnamon powder to the sweet. You never have the sweet with cinnamon powder. The dessert tasted like cinnamon and I felt horrible. Though everyone said thank you and it was good, I think my face gave it away, and my boyfriend took me aside and said that Ellie had told him that my sweet looked too white and thought some cinnamon might bring some color into it. I don't know, I just felt awful and I started to tear up. My boyfriend then defended Ellie and said that his friends already think I'm a child and not make a big deal of this and we will talk about it. I told him Ellie asked him first, couldn't he have told her not to add cinnamon to the sweet? He told me he didn't think it was a big deal and asked me to drop the topic on the way home. I didn't text him goodnight and this morning he said he was sorry and said my crying made him feel like an awful person. I don't know, now I think I overreacted. Aita. Update, Ellie saw this post. My boyfriend texted me to see if it was me. I said yes. He said we needed to talk. For safety purposes, my best friend will be here. I don't know, I never expected my post to blow up. Comments. Commenter 1. So your boyfriend doesn't defend you and apparently all his friends think you're a child. Which he also doesn't defend you against. He's also got 6 years on you, dude's nearing 30. Does your boyfriend often treat you like a child? Does your boyfriend usually defend his friends when they do some fuck shit like this? Does your boyfriend defend you at all? He should feel like an awful person. He is an awful boyfriend. Reply, I usually just hang around my boyfriend's friends during these dinners. I admit I feel a little left out because they all have been friends for so long, and I'm from a different culture, but they have never said any outright offensive thing to me. Commenter 2. I dated a guy like that with friend like that for too long and let me tell you, it will never matter how much you age, they will always treat you like the little kid outsider. Update. He said he needed space from the relationship. I think with the way this post blew up and what happened because of a post, I should clear up some things. I never asked if I should leave my boyfriend for this. I asked if this was an overreaction, my crying. But having thousands of people tell me this was racially charged, Ellie wanted power, my BF is shitty, etc., my brain went haywire. BF called yesterday and when I got there, his house, with my best friend, Dave and Ellie were there. Ellie was crying and Dave looked really pissed at me. My BF told me to sit down and Dave started with how could I make a post that most of the people in the dinner party would recognize and know, and could shame Ellie and my BF. My BF was silent, and wouldn't even look at me, and was only shaking his head. It felt like I was a kid, being scolded by my parents with my elder sibling disappointed in my actions. That is what I felt and it looked. I admit, it was very spineless of me, but Dave went on for like a minute and I was just looking at my BF waiting for him to defend me. I asked Ellie, why would she alter my dish, after telling me to bring an Indian dish. She said she thought Indian food would be brown. This woman has more Indian friends than me, and she thinks Indian food is brown. She grew up in the UK, FFs. And I felt so defeated. The comments, my friends, and people around me telling me his friends came first to him, not me. He said he didn't think the sweet was a big deal. I told him I would never let my friend alter something he spent 3 days learning, getting people to taste it and got his mom involved in. He saw I put a lot of effort into it, so why let her alter it? Why couldn't he ask me? Ellie started to cry and say that she wasn't being racist and she wouldn't know that I put effort into it and now she couldn't host dinners again. I said I used fake names, so why does it matter, unless she and Dave went around telling people. BF told me he didn't expect this from me. My best friend piped up that he expected that my BF would have a fucking spine, so I guess they were both disappointed. My BF told me, in front of Dave and Ellie that he needs some space. I told him to get lost. I don't know what my best friend said to him after that, considering I left BF's flat. I kind of tripped in the metro station, so now I'm crying on my best friend's couch with an ice pack while his BF keeps giving me peach schnapps and my relationship has toppled over. I wouldn't have stormed out, had he looked at me once. He just looked 100% on Dave and Ellie's side, and acted like I was the one with the problem when she caused me hurt. If his friends come first when they cause me hurt, where would I have been, if I decided to marry this man? My friends are good to me and are acting like I'm some fragile glass. I even heard my best friend and his brother whispering loudly from the kitchen and his elder brother wanting to threaten him via Insta DMS. I hate that this has come to this, considering I have always been the mom friend to my friend group. I'm drunk while writing this, so have some grace in the comments. Also, if you'll be an incel like those people in my DMs, telling me I'll never keep a man if I'm this dramatic, please go away. I just thought I needed to update, that's it. Thanks guys. Edit. Guys, this is the first time I've faced what y'all have been calling racism. To be honest, I didn't see Ellie putting cinnamon into my rosagala as racism. I was just hurt that my days of hard work was ruined, that's it. I understand I need to work on my self-esteem and not let people walk over me. My best friend's elder brother, he's a doctor and is super pissed at my ex right now, because he didn't know what happened, booked an appointment with a therapist he knows, as he thinks I need mental help to not normalize aggressive behavior. I'm sorry for ranting on Reddit, but I guess that's where I am. Both my best friend and I will be going. He had been there for some time before, and the situation is tense at home because Dada, Beastie's brother, didn't know what was happening and tore my friends a new one for not protesting when Dave said shit to me. I still haven't told him it was over a Reddit post and that I'm writing here. I feel awful and I don't know how to tell my mum she was right. I wish I never went out with him. One of my ex's friends, from the dinner party, asked me if I really left my ex over a dessert, so I guess that's what he told people. It hurts, I know it shouldn't, but it hurts. I think it is partially my fault, I shouldn't have let myself be treated like this. There were signs and I ignored them. And now I think I'll never have another relationship because it feels like a horrible, anxious feeling. Comments. Commenter 1. She thought Indian food was brown and she expects you to apologize for being upset by her racist thoughtlessness. Your boyfriend sucks. His friends suck. You dodged a bullet. Edited to add that I really hope Ellie tells all her Indian friends how she improved the dish with cinnamon. Commenter 2. So racist all of them, and what a bullshit excuse. Just her comments doubling down show how racist she actually is. OP, you absolutely dodged a bullet. This guy is a spineless, pathetic loser. You are so much better off without him. Commenter 3. So, all Indian women are dumb, childish and inconsiderate. But OP's ex will date one. It's a reminder that people will be with you even if they don't like you. They'll say they like you and pretend, but when the cards fall, they fall face up. They show you what they think of you, it oozes out. There are some who are active serial killers and their partners don't know. He wanted someone dumb and childish. He wanted someone he could insult and control. Update 2. Aita for crying when my boyfriend let his best friend's wife alter the dish I made for dinner. I am updating because I felt like I should just update about recent events, and honestly, after just more than 2 weeks I have started to feel good about myself, even though I feel like shit whenever I remember my ex. I really hope I can put this whole thing to rest and I don't have to update again, for my sanity. Firstly, my ex called a few times last week. I had blocked him earlier, literally like 2 days after breaking up, and whenever he called my friends they wouldn't pick up either. I wanted to handle this matter gracefully, and unlike what some people commented, no, I did not want my issues all over the internet and did not understand what was happening. I just wanted some advice on how to deal with my emotions and didn't want my friends to be mad at my then BF. Thankfully, the trash took itself out. I still don't know if Ellie was racially motivated or if she just hated me. I don't even care now. I don't want a man who makes his friends scold me and humiliate me. I know I deserve to be at least somebody's first choice. Ex came by at my best friend's flat. I don't live there, and from what I heard from my bestie's boyfriend, he said he was very sorry and he now felt like I didn't deserve to be treated like that. He had thought, when he broke up with me, that I was overreacting and it was just a small thing I made a big deal out of. But then a few of his friends explained to Ellie that it definitely was a horrible thing to do, and told my ex he was a shit BF. Huh. Who knew he had nice friends too? Ex didn't say anything more after that. Just he was sorry and he said he doesn't want more hurt between us. I have decided to not contact him. I'm just done. A lecture from my mother on dating idiot men and crying every night for over a week has made me lethargic, and on top, I am fending off Dada, Beastie's elder brothers, insisting that I move in with them for some time because I'm not eating well. My dad said it's okay if I do. My family trusts my Beastie and his family a lot. Needless to say, my work and studies are suffering. I haven't heard from Ellie or Dave and I don't intend to. The person who asked me if I left my ex over a desert, I told her what happened and she was appalled. I dunno what she told my ex, for him to apologize. Honestly, I'm so done with that group shit. I went to one therapy session and I didn't feel good. I know I have to keep going for it to actually help me, but I can't help feeling so down. I have never been so emotionally low in my life and I am officially not dating for the foreseeable future. I am planning a trip with friends after my final semester of my master's and I really hope I don't bring the mood down, for my friends who have been so supportive and have always made me feel I have family, even though I'm away from home. I don't know what I would have done without having my best friend and his boyfriend, who keep telling me to drink the pain away, and Dada keeps on talking about the negative effects of becoming an alcoholic. Overall, I'm closing this chapter, and I don't think I'll need to update again. I'm not ever talking again to Dave and Ellie or my ex, so I don't expect any more drama. I just want to settle down to work and graduate properly. Comments. Commenter 1. I am officially not dating for the foreseeable future. This is excellent. Take some time for yourself. Take care of you. You deserve it. You are exactly right to give the therapy a chance to work. Please take the time to love yourself a little more, and get used to putting yourself first. There's a reason we are told to put on our own oxygen masks first in an airplane, before helping others. Hugs from this internet stranger, if you'll have them. Commenter 2. Other friends of the ex telling him off gives me hope for humanity NGL. Commenter 3. So he broke up with Op, basically because his friends were saying she's making a big deal over nothing. So he did what his friends wanted. Now he's apologizing because some of his other friends said he should. So he's still choosing his friends over what was his then partner. Commenter 4. The dude couldn't find a spine in the Paris catacombs. Commenter 5. What a shit apology. I thought you were overreacting, but now because my friends say it was a shitty thing for Ellie to do, I have now decided it actually was a shitty thing to do. We all make mistakes, am I right? I mean, it's quite funny when you think of it. Hello. Hello. God, she dodged a cannon. Update. I think by now I should probably put all this in the back burner, but remembering how it was Reddit who got me out of a shitty relationship, I just wanted to make a last final update. I'm doing well. I went to therapy after it, quit it in a few weeks, and 2 months later went back again. I'm working on building a spine when it comes to my loved ones. Turns out even my mom telling me, "I told you so," every time I made a mistake, even though she is wonderful and didn't do it on purpose, has made some stupid issues in my head, in which I need to please every person whom I like. As for my ex, I haven't seen him. He stopped coming to the store, and around a month after my breakup I quit anyways, and for the first time in my life I made it clear to mutual acquaintances that if they took his side, I'm done. I am young, and there are a lot more good people I'll meet in life, so I won't mind losing a few ones who condone such racist behavior. And yes, I have realized that their behavior was racially charged. Maybe it was ignorance, maybe my ex wanted the exotic bird, I don't care. I have made peace with the fact that some people will be assholes no matter what. I have heard nothing from Dave or Ellie, and good riddance for that. I don't want to know, and I have decided to protect my peace not knowing. Apart from that, I graduated. Went on a solo trip to Italy, moved to a new place. My roommate is a friend from grad school. I get along very well, and am focusing on my work and my friends. My best friend and his boyfriend are still going strong. Dada thanks the heavens every day I didn't turn into an alcoholic. Life is good. I don't think I'll update after this. Just wanted to say a final thank you. Comments. Commenter 1. All that I can say is, good riddance, girl. Though I was rooting for you and Dada. Reply, we aren't technically dating. Plus, relationships are complicated. And dating someone who is like family to you is more complicated, because in case you break up, you will be in a bigger mess than a relationship. Dada and I are fine. If something happens in the future, we will see, but he is older, and busy with his work. Doctors have no lives, so we are not going anywhere or doing anything. Ultimately we both believe what is meant to happen, will happen, so we leave it at that. Commenter 2. If I recall correctly, this know-it-all Ellie person put cinnamon on rasgulla because the dessert was too white, and all good subcontinental dessert needs to be brown. Good to hear from OP they are doing well, but what I hate about these updates is reliving cinnamon on rasgulla. Reply, LMAO, imagine how I feel. I had to eat it. EW. I'm still traumatized. But at least it will be a good story for my kids, LOL. Stories number 2. Aita for wanting my sister to change her wedding date because it falls on my graduation. My sister is getting married next year, May 17, 2025. This is a problem because I graduate that day. I was informed about the date in March. Long story short, I was looking at my academic calendar just a few days ago and I found out that that was my graduation day. My school usually graduates during the first week of May, so this surprised me. I let my parents know about the date and they told me to tell my sister. When I told her about the date, I asked her if could change the date. She told that she already changed the date 3 times and she wasn't going to change it for a 4th. She told me that she was sorry and she'll understand if I can't come. I was kinda upset by this because I thought it was very dismissive. When I told her that, she got mad and told me that I can't expect her to try and change her date again and that it was set and it was final. Now I'm kinda worried that none of my family members would be at my graduation and I won't be able to see my sister get married. I understand that it's an inconvenience for her, but she could change her wedding date. I have no control over my graduation date. When I talked to my parents about who's going to be at my graduation, they just told me not to worry about that right now because it's not time to stress about that. But I am. My parents are telling me that they are gonna try and convince my sister to change the date, but I doubt she will. Comments. Editor's note: I included the ones I did because they revealed a lot about OOP's headspace and a lot about what solutions people came up with. Commenter: NAH. Skip your graduation and go to the wedding, they are more fun. Just don't hold it against anyone who doesn't come to your graduation, unless this is her second wedding. Is this her first wedding? Reply: I'm not going to her wedding if it's during my graduation. If no one in my family comes to my graduation, I'd like them to tell me now instead of waiting until later. This is her first wedding. Commenter: this is a kind of a first come, first served situation. What really determines the asshole though is how long you had access to your calendar. It falls on the individuals to make sure their calendars are free and give them to the wedding party. The wedding party can't logistically look at every single person's calendar. They give a date, and everyone responds accordingly. Reply: the calendar just got updated a few days ago because we were just sent our schedules in the email. Commenter: no one should blame you for not wanting to miss your graduation. Graduations are special and deserve to be celebrated, just like weddings. Where does your family sit in this? And why did she change it 3 times already? Reply: thanks, and my parents are conflicted. They're not sure what to do and just told me that they are gonna try and convince her to change the date. My sister wanted a spring wedding at first, but she changed her mind and wanted to get married during September, but most of us would be in school by that time and she just decided to change it to May. It keeps getting pushed back. Commenter: info: when your sister graduated, did your parents and family attend? Reply: yes, we all attended. Except her college graduation. It was only a few of us who could go. Me, my mom and dad, and 2 of our cousins. It had limited tickets, but for her high school one, everyone went. Commenter: info: are they in the same area town or close to each other, an hour or less? Do you know the time of day that your graduation is? Most graduations are usually in the morning or noonish, or maybe that's just in my area, most weddings are usually in the evening. So maybe both could be done. Reply: it says it's 1 hour and 31 minutes away from my school. On the calendar it says at 4 p.m. but I know that the graduates have to be there earlier for lineup and I'm not sure what time that'll be. My sister wants her wedding to start at 5:30. Even if my graduation ends before, I'll miss part of it. Commenter: so just go to the reception. What's the big deal? Reply: in order for my parents or anyone who wants to see the wedding, that means that they'll have to miss my graduation because of the time it takes to get there. I can't go to a reception with no transportation. OOP should just drive. I'm 16. I turn 17 next June. I don't have my license yet. I have a permit. I take my road skills test in October. I also don't have my own car. OOP graduating at 16. Yes, I'm graduating early, and I'm going to college. I'm not in college yet, so I don't know how it operates about graduations. My sister had limited tickets for hers. My high school graduation is an open invite. That means anyone can come. I want my family to see me graduate. Commenter: oh god, this is a high school graduation, go to the wedding and have the family at your college graduation, the one that actually matters. Reply: I want my family at my high school graduation, too. They're both important, and I liked seeing how everyone was proud of my cousins and sister when they graduated, and I want that for me, too. Commenter: info: what is an acceptable compromise in your mind? Reply: having some people go to my graduation and some go to her wedding, I guess. Commenter: okay, that's fair. Could you sit down and talk to your parents? Say, hey mom, I'd love if you came to my graduation and dad went to the wedding, or something along those lines. It sounds like you're trying to get everyone to come to your graduation instead of working on a compromise. And unless you're willing to reimburse your sister thousands of dollars on deposits, I doubt the wedding date is going to change. Reply: my parents are telling me not to talk to about it right now. And I would like it if everyone came to my graduation, I went to theirs. But if I'm being honest, I don't really care if my uncles, aunts, and cousins don't come. I just wanted my parents to be there for me. Commenter: Are you going to be mad if both parents don't come to your graduation? So, you're not really interested in a compromise. You just want to get your way. Reply, if both of my parents don't want to come to my graduation, they need to tell me now so I can accept that no one will be there for me instead of prolonging it and refusing to talk about it. Commenter, NAH, however, if your parents don't come to your graduation, you will be well within your rights to realize the relationship with them isn't working for you. I personally would sit with your parents and let them know unfortunately this situation is now unavoidable, but their choices will have lasting impact on their relationship with you forever. You also wouldn't be the holy to stop talking to your sister. That is 100% your choice. Reply, thanks, but I couldn't do that to my parents. I love them too much to stop talking to them. I also won't say I'll stop talking to my sister either, but I do view her differently, and I'm not sure if we could ever be as close anymore. It hurt my feelings a lot when she basically told me that she was okay with me not being at her wedding and didn't sound as concerned as me. She made it sound like it wasn't a big deal. It made me realize that I maybe valued her more than she valued me. I'm gonna be hurt regardless not having everyone there, but I don't really know what I can do. Update post. I forgot about this account until I checked my other Gmail accounts on my phone. It's May 20th now, and I graduated. Everyone in my family went to my sister's wedding. I didn't go. My parents left me my mom's car so I'd have transportation while they were away and could still make it to my graduation. I graduated top 5 in my class and I felt alone. When my name was called, a few people in the crowd clapped, but it wasn't like everyone else who had their whole families cheering, yelling, and making noise. It was very embarrassingly quiet. You could feel that I didn't have anyone there. However, I didn't even know my school live streamed graduations on Facebook until the day afterwards. The camera angle was so far away you couldn't really see me though. You could only hear my voice and see me when I was at the podium reading the pledge and when they said my name. That was it. Afterwards, I went to McDonald's and then went home. Because my graduation ended around 5 p.m., and my parents didn't make it home until around 11 that night. My parents tried to plan a celebratory dinner for me Sunday, but the place I really wanted to eat at is closed on Sundays and Mondays. Now they're pushing it to this Saturday so everyone in the family could come. I already told them they can't really make up for missing my graduation though. At least that's how I feel. A dinner after the fact doesn't fix how invisible I felt, to be honest. They're upset that I said a dinner wouldn't really make up for missing my graduation. They said they thought long and hard about it and figured I'd still have the chance to graduate college later on, and they could see me then. Meanwhile, they wouldn't have to miss my sister's wedding since she'll only get married once. My sister and the rest of the family have been texting me congratulations now, but it all just feels late, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm happy I graduated, but I did feel a little overlooked. Stories number 3. Aita for not inviting my boyfriend to my graduation dinner because of what he said to my dad. So I, 19F, just graduated college early, yay me. My family is super close-knit, especially me and my dad. He's a single dad who basically gave up everything to raise me. Like, this man worked 2 jobs when I was in high school so I could do extracurricular and not worry about anything. We're tight. Anyway, I've been dating Jake, 22M, for about 8 months. He's funny, a bit sarcastic, and usually great to be around. We've had ups and downs, but nothing major until last week. My dad threw me a small graduation dinner. Just close family and a couple of my best friends. Jake was going to be invited, but the day before the dinner, he came over to help me pick an outfit and ended up chatting with my dad. I wasn't in the room the whole time, but I heard them laughing at first, then voices got lower. Later, when Jake left, my dad pulled me aside and said, "I don't like how he talks to me." I asked what happened, and apparently Jake had said something like, "You must be glad your job as a dad is finally over," in a joking way. My dad apparently just smiled and changed the subject, but I could tell it really hurt him. He's sensitive about that kind of stuff, and honestly, so am I. When I texted Jake about it, he doubled down and said my dad was being too emotional and that it's not that deep. That rubbed me the wrong way. My dad has never asked for anything, and this dinner was a big deal for him. So I made the choice to not invite Jake. I didn't tell him until the day of, and he blew up saying I was choosing my dad over him and that I'm immature for ghosting him for a stupid dinner. I told him he needed to apologize to my dad first before being welcome around my family again. He said I'm being dramatic and that my dad needs to grow up. So, now he's barely speaking to me, and some of my friends are split. A couple say I did the right thing, others think I should have still let him come and talked it out after. Comments. Commenter 1. You're a college graduate now. You've outgrown an immature boy like Jake. He was fun for a time, but you can do better. Commenter 2. Also, here's a handy hint, the moment a man says it's not that deep is the moment you know he's a bad guy. That's how they reveal themselves. Commenter 3. NTA. I think you can do better than Jake. He's showing some big red flags. Ups and downs after only 8 months. You should still be in the honeymoon phase with way more ups than downs. Everything he said to your dad is troublesome. Your dad will always be your dad and his job as a parent is never over. Of course you're going to choose your dad over him. The fact that he won't apologize or even acknowledge his obnoxious comments is a real problem. I think you're starting to see that Jake is manipulative, jealous and controlling. His comments are rubbing you the wrong way, so trust your gut. You know what he said was inappropriate and his reaction to you calling him out on his behavior is a problem as well. He didn't deserve to be at the dinner, and he doesn't deserve to have you as a GF. It doesn't matter what your friends say, they don't have to deal with him the way you do. Move on from Jake. Celebrate with your dad and enjoy the dinner. Update. Hey Reddit, I didn't think this would get much attention, but thanks for all the responses. I read a lot of them, even the brutally honest ones lol. A bunch of people asked for an update, so here we go. So after the whole graduation dinner situation, I gave Jake some space. I thought maybe he just needed time to cool off and think things through. I was still upset, but I genuinely hoped he'd come around, maybe even reach out to apologize to my dad. He didn't. Instead, the day after the dinner, he posted some cryptic IG story like black screen, white text, classic drama saying something like some people value performative loyalty over real love. Okay, philosopher. I ignored it. But then, my cousin, who was at the dinner and follows Jake, messaged me asking if everything was okay, because apparently Jake was replying to comments under that story with eye roll emojis whenever someone mentioned family or dads. At that point, I was like, what are we doing here? So I texted him one more time. I said, hey. I need to know where you stand. If you still think what you said wasn't a big deal and you don't want to apologize, then maybe this just isn't going to work. He read it, didn't reply, left me on read for 3 days. Then, out of nowhere, he sent me this long paragraph saying I clearly have unresolved daddy issues, and that he should have known I'd always prioritize the first man in my life over any future ones. Y'all, my jaw was on the floor. Not only was that wildly disrespectful, it proved exactly why I made the right choice. I told him we were done. Blocked his number. Told my friends what he said, and even the ones who thought I was being too harsh before were like, yeah no, he sucks. And my dad. He didn't even know half of this was happening, but when I told him, in a very PG way, he just said, you deserve someone who respects all of you including where you come from. Anyway. Single now. Degree in hand. Peace restored. And my dad and I went out for pancakes the next morning and laughed about how I almost invited a man who beefs with father figures to a family dinner. Comments. Commenter 1. Good riddance. Baffling how people can think this is okay. Commenter 2. His response shows he didn't respect you or your family. You made the right choice. Stories number 4. Aita for walking out of my sister's engagement dinner and refusing to attend her wedding after she humiliated me at the dinner in front of my boyfriend, our family, and her future ILs. My sister, 30F, had her engagement dinner at our parents' house a month ago. I, 26F, was there with my boyfriend, 26M. It was our side of the family, our parents, both sets of grandparents and 5 aunts and uncles. And her future ILs, fiancé's parents and siblings, his 3 living grandparents and like 10 aunts and uncles. My sister's fiancé made some comments about wanting to get to know me and my boyfriend better. And saying we should meet up before the wedding and hang out. My boyfriend and I were on board with this, but my sister was seriously quiet, and then she said we would be doing nothing like that. She said I had already stolen one guy from her and I wasn't going to do it again. This was followed up by her blaming me for her ex-fiancé breaking up with her because he liked me. Context on that. This was when my sister was 20 and her ex was 21 and I was 16. I never did a thing with him and never would have. My sister was distant with me after that relationship breakdown, and she confronted me about it at the time and I told her nothing happened. I sorta knew she didn't believe me but always thought she'd get over it. Apparently not. My parents blew a fuse at dinner when she brought this up. They were disgusted she'd accuse me at 16 of stealing a 21-year-old man. They told her he was at fault for all of that. She told them I was so smug and figured I could get away with it, but I'm nothing but a rear. My boyfriend jumped to my defense, but I told him I just wanted to leave. I felt humiliated, honestly. Especially when I had already denied anything happening and it was 10 years later and she was with someone else. I was told a week ago that they have a date for the wedding set and I'll be invited. I told the relative who told me that I won't be going. Then I had some blowback from the family who told me walking out of the dinner was bad enough but not going to the wedding is several steps too far and that we're still sisters no matter what. ETA, clarifying that my parents are not expecting me to go or part of the relatives telling me I should still go. My parents have been very supportive and are on my side and reminded everyone I was 16 when my sister claims I did this. That this was a gross thing. It's extended relatives who are expecting me to go because we're sisters. Stories number 5. Aita for not giving my sports cards back to my dad after he found out how much they're worth. I, 19M, was gifted my dad's sports card collection for my 18th birthday. He had boxes of them from when he was growing up. I started looking into how you could get them graded. I finally shipped the best ones out a few months ago and just got them back last week. I was happy to see how highly some of them were graded. I researched what these cards would go for and my jaw dropped. This money would help me pay for college and I would still have a decent amount left over. I was visiting my parents and my dad mentioned something about those cards. I made the mistake of saying how much some of these cards are worth. He didn't have much of a reaction that night. The next day, I get a long text from my dad saying that he gave it some thought and wanted his cards back. The money would help him and my mom pay for their dream vacation. I thought it was a joke, but he was serious. I told him sorry but they were a gift and I intended on using this money for college. Since then, I've been getting hurtful texts from my parents telling me how selfish I am. They said I'm an asshole for wanting to sell these cards because they were a gift. Even though they would do the same thing if I gave them back. I planned on getting my dad a cool gift for his birthday with some of my money, but I'm starting to think he doesn't deserve anything at all. Aita, TLDR, was gifted sports cards by my dad. My dad found out how much they're worth and wants them back. I don't want to give them back. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Normally NTA, depends in this situation, have your parents been financially supporting you? Edit, not necessarily an asshole, but I'd be cautious. Creating a divide between you and your parents might not be worth it. Especially if they might help you out financially down the road. Reply, they paid for a little under half of my first semester of college. Other than that, I support myself. Commenter 2. Were they going to continue to help with college? Because if yes they now have that money to save up for their dream vacation. Reply, I doubt it. They were pretty pissed at what school I chose. Might have been an excuse to get me to pay for my own college but this situation kind of has me rethinking everything. Commenter 3. NTA and I think it's good to mention, if you know about sports cards and getting them graded right now, it's not cheap. Last time I looked at Panini for grading it was $150 PR card. Just make sure you check comps before selling, don't let anyone rip you off. Also please use PayPal for payments, they'll have your back if you get scammed. Unfortunately there's a lot of scamming in the card world. Reply, yup it is not cheap at all. That's why it took me so long to send only my best ones out. Commenter 4. Info around how much are the cards going for? How is your relationship with your parents? Did you like sports? Trying to see if your dad was well-meaning when he gave them to you. It's a gift he gave you and it's kind of a shitty to ask for it back now that it's worth it more than sentimental value. Reply, the most expensive card usually sells for about $50,000. My relationship with my parents is usually good but has gotten worse over the past year. They wanted me to go to a school closer to home but I didn't, I'm still in state. I love sports so I guess I would understand why they were upset if they weren't planning on selling the cards for themselves. Update. First of all, thanks to the majority of people saying I'm NTA. There were some ESH and a few YTA sprinkled in but thanks for the input. I didn't want to lose my relationship with my parents over this, so I decided to compromise. My idea was to keep the cards and handle the sales myself. However, I would communicate each sale with my parents and come up with a fair split to pay for college and their vacation. I told my parents we could meet up on Monday and discuss this situation. Unfortunately, they continued to harass me over the days leading up to our talk. Apparently having to work on Mother's Day was just an excuse by me to avoid talking to them about the cards. By the time we met, I was pretty tired of their shit. I could be the asshole for this but I decided to test them. I lied and told them they could have the cards if they paid me back the cost of getting them graded. When I told them the price, they didn't believe me. I was accused of lying to get more money out of this. I realized it wasn't worth proving it. They wanted everything and there was no compromise to be made. I told them not to contact me and that I'd only be around to see my brother and go to other family events. So that's how it went. Glad they care more about the money than me. I've been trying to keep it together, but it's been hard. Thankfully my girlfriend has been around to comfort me. She's the best. Maybe I'll use some of that extra money on a vacation for us. Haven't heard anything from other family yet so I don't know how this is all gonna play out. Guess all I can do now is work on getting these cards sold and hope for the best. TLDR, relationship with parents is basically over for now. I still have the cards. Relevant comments. Commenter. Split the money with your brother. Keep it in your name but earmark the proceeds for both your college educations. Reply. I've definitely thought about doing that. He's still a few years away from finishing high school, so maybe that will be a good graduation gift. Update 2. Aita sports card situation. Earlier today, I had my first family party to go to since everything went down. I guess word kind of got around about what happened because I had some family ask me if I was alright over text. My parents were not at the party while I was there. Not sure if they showed up at all. Everything seems to be fine with the rest of my family. Nobody treated me any different. In my last post, people were telling me to save some money for my brother, which was a great idea. I'll have to do that in secret when he graduates. I've decided to do even more and start building a sports card collection of my own. I can pass that down to my own kids one day. I definitely feel better now that this hasn't affected the relationship with the rest of my family. I'm excited to take some beach trips with my GF so I can relax this summer. Also looking forward to selling these cards. I promised a few of you to send pics of my cards, so if you're reading this, please remind me. This is probably my last update, so thanks again for the support. Stories number 6. My husband said some awful things to me completely out of the blue. I don't want relationship advice, which is why I'm posting here. I know everyone will say to leave him anyways. I just need to vent. I, 31F, am 6 months pregnant with our first child. We've been together for 10 years. I thought we were happy. In fact, my pregnancy hormones have made me feel extra loving and affectionate towards him over the last several weeks. I even made a post about it last week in a different subreddit. But the last several months have been really hard for me too. 2 weeks after we found out I am pregnant, my soul dog got diagnosed with terminal bone cancer. 2 weeks after that, my husband, 38M, left for a 2-month-long military short tour. I've had debilitating morning sickness. While he was gone, I had to watch my boy slowly decline and care for him as best as I could, all while feeling physically extremely sick. My boy passed almost a month ago. My husband was there, thank God. I'm devastated and grieving, but we still have had many positive experiences. This past weekend I gladly helped him with his passion project, we got pedicures together, we went out to eat, and just generally had a lot of fun. I've been making a conscious effort to try to be positive and enjoy life as much as I can now. Saturday night, out of the blue, my husband went out to talk to his sister. He came back an hour later and wouldn't talk to me, giving me the silent treatment and dirty looks. When I eventually got him to tell me what was wrong, here are some of the things he said: that I've turned into the stereotypical pregnant person that he can't stand, that I've become someone he hates, that he regrets marrying me and having a kid with me, that the real reason he doesn't want to have a second kid, a point of contention for us, is because he doesn't want to have a second child with me, that by being a stereotypical pregnant person I have broken his trust and flushed our entire relationship down the toilet, etc. I genuinely didn't know what he meant about me being a stereotypical pregnant person. I don't cry because my fries don't come out fast enough, and I'm not getting irrationally angry at small things. When I finally got him to tell me what he meant, he said that small things seem to be upsetting me or frustrating me more than they should. Which, yeah. I'm sad and stressed. But also I'm not taking it out on him, I'm literally just talking to him about it. Like I'll say, oh, this happened today, and it's frustrated because it puts me in a weird position or something like that. To me it's just regular conversation things. But he's annoyed that he has to hear me talk about it, I guess, so that's it. He apologized but also doubled down during his apology, so there's that. I feel betrayed. I'm angry and hurt. I feel like I lost my dog and husband in less than a month. I've been sleeping in the guest room. I thought we were happy, and now I'm contemplating what life will look like as a single mother. My marriage was one area of my life I felt secure and happy in, and now I feel neither of those things. Stories number 7. My boyfriend told me that my dad has 30 years of practice. 10 years later I finally understand what he means. When my boyfriend and I first started dating, I would always say my dad would never do that and compare him to my father. Wrong, I know. It would always irk me when he would clap back with "your dad has 30 years of practice." One instance I remember clearly was when he made that comment when I was upset with him for not helping me unload the car because none of the stuff was his. Fast forward to today, my boyfriend gladly unpacks the car, even if none of the stuff is his. He's learned through the years what really matters to me and continues to practice these things to keep me happy. My boyfriend was actually right in his youth, practice does matter. To get good at things, it takes practice. This includes practicing in relationships and being open to growth. Not just romantic relationships either, but all relationships. When we start to understand one another more deeply, we can practice doing the things that matter to them and practice not doing the things that bother them. This grows a relationship immensely. Same goes for friendships, work relationships, etc. Obviously practice matters in other aspects of life, but I was just thinking about how practice with relationships really does make them run more smoothly and helps build trust and understanding. What the point of that whole spiel was, but just keep practicing, people. Stories number 8. My 27F boyfriend, 31M, is now sleeping outside in a tent. What other options can we explore? I moved in with my BF about 7 months ago. We slept together 3 to 4 nights a week prior to that. No issues. The past 2 months he says I keep him up with the sound of my breathing and the very rare snoring when I'm sick and congested. Sometimes I take a shower, go to the bathroom or plug in my phone too late and it wakes him. We have slept apart for the past month or so. I hate it but respect his need for better rest. I sleep in the bedroom and he was sleeping on the floor of the living room on a twin mattress. I feel horrible about this and offer for me to sleep in the living room or at the very least for us to trade on and off, but he says he prefers it in there. Today he went to buy a tent for the backyard because it's too loud inside even in separate rooms. I feel like this is an extreme reaction. He's never wanted to establish a common bedtime even though I've asked many times. He won't try white noise or earplugs or melatonin for his sleeplessness. We have a second bedroom but the bathroom connects them, so setting up a bed in there doesn't really address bathroom noise problem. His parents gifted him the house and neither of us pay rent. He isn't asking me to leave and is happy sleeping in the tent, but I feel so guilty like I've pushed him out of his home even though I never wanted him to go outside. I don't feel morally right staying here with that arrangement, plus is kinda creepy in here alone. It's an old house and the 2 back doors don't lock and there are no blinds as he's not a fan of them. There was someone walking around in the back on the deck where the bedroom is looking in one night when he was away and I feel safer with him inside. But more than that I feel bad knowing I'm in a bed and he's in a tent. I've tried to think of alternative solutions but he doesn't like any that I've posed. I asked to compromise and find something we can both agree on but he says he needs the tent. Honestly I can't stay living here if that's the new normal. It just feels wrong. He says that's fine, we don't have to live and be together then. Does anyone have ideas or can make any sense of this? I love him and want to find a solution but this can't be the only option. For reference, he has been hospitalized 10x times for cannabis-induced schizophrenia and bipolar disorder and is easily irritated by snoring as he had psych ward roomies who snored a lot. He's off cannabis now and mostly stable but still sensitive and probably traumatized by the hospitalizations. TLDR, boyfriend I moved in with is sensitive to noise when sleeping and resorted to sleeping in a tent outside without considering other options first. He won't budge on the tent and I feel weird staying in his house with him outside. Thanks. Edit. Thank you everyone for your thoughtful replies. I did not expect this overwhelming response. I am reading every reply, there is just a lot, so sorry if I can't respond right away. For ref, I don't snore every night. He has told me this and I shared a bed with my best friend for 3 nights recently and she said I never snored. Same with my sister who I have done the same. I don't snore if I change positions, which I was doing when he and I slept together. Thanks for the thoughts on sleep apnea but pretty sure I don't have it. I just snore if my nose is stuffed in the winter when sick. Very infrequent. It's more of my breathing that bothers him. Probably wasn't the best mention the mental health at the end. I understand that makes it seem like an afterthought. I'm totally not ignoring it, but yes, maybe didn't consider it to be the central issue since he's doing pretty well these days. For context, he is not in meds, refuses to take them, so his family and doctors stopped pushing the issue. They see him being off cannabis as the main solution and he got to sobriety before me moving in. If I were ever to bring it up meds, he gets furious. He feels the meds they gave him in the hospital have had very bad long-term effects on him, which I understand. From what he tells me, in Vega can be rough and as he is a classical musician, it dulls his playing ability. He had weekly therapy for most of the time since the last hospitalization, but she paused him because she went on a retreat which was apparently a month long, but it'd been 2+ months and he hasn't returned, and when I ask about it he gets irate. My mom supposed the therapist quit on him but he said she didn't and she's just out of town, but also he doesn't need therapy anyway. Obviously I think there is something fishy there. His indifference to breaking it off definitely speaks volumes about his wanting to be in the relationship, and as much as I love him, I agree with you all, it is not sustainable. I'm now looking for a place in the city I moved from, it just takes time as there is a lot of competition for rentals. That being said, if you have personal experience, advice, or wisdom that may be relevant in my leaving and passing the baton back to him parents, let me know. He definitely needs help but refuses it, and it seems like I'm no longer helping by being here. That's the reason I originally moved here, to support him in coming out of the hospital. Much love and many thanks to you all. Sometimes it's hard to see things clearly when you're close to them. I appreciate everyone who has responded. Stories number 9. Aita for reminding my dad's wife that she was supposed to be my mom's best friend but instead was a backstabber who cheated with her best friend's husband. I am 17, live in a toxic household and I contribute to that, but I want to know if I'm TA for this particular part of it. So my parents were married and seemed happy when everything fell apart. My mom found out she had a brain tumor and on that same day she found out my dad was sleeping with her best friend. I was 10 at the time and for like 5 weeks life was crazy with my dad and Haley, who was meant to be my mom's best friend, trying to make her forgive them. My mom started having seizures because of the tumor and I think because of the stress too, and she died 5 weeks and 2 days after she was diagnosed with her brain tumor. My dad and Haley moved in together after my mom died and they decided they would try to raise me and my sister together. My sister was 8 at the time and my dad has said she took her cues from me, but we did not accept Dad and Haley and we acted up a lot. I yelled at them, called them names, refused to listen when they asked me to do something, and I told other people what they'd done. All of Dad's friends, all of Haley's friends and our neighbors knew, and mostly because of me. I interrupted their wedding a bunch. My sister did, but not as much. We wanted to live somewhere else and they refused. They got us all into therapy and I didn't put any work into fixing things. My dad and Haley had 2 kids and I refused to help or care. I make a point of telling or showing what they are and what I think of them. For my dad that meant cutting him out of photos, and I say every now and again that I'll change my last name to Mom's. She never changed hers when they married. And I talk about my maternal grandpa being the man I want to be most like because he's the best guy I know. But with Haley, I remind her every time that she was supposed to be Mom's best friend and she was a backstabber who cheated with my dad instead. And I do this in front of other people if she tries to act like my parent or take praise for my good behavior around other people. She told me I need to stop bringing it up several times, but I ignore her. I tell her I won't ever stop. Her aunt died last week and she told me I needed to help out around the house more while she was with her mom and her cousins. I refused and she told me this is what the oldest sibling and oldest child does, and I reminded her I wasn't hers and brought up the affair again. She broke down and I told her I didn't feel sorry for her, and she told me she felt guilty enough and like Mom haunted her enough, and she said I was doing nothing but driving her crazy and making her feel like she had to isolate from everyone because otherwise the whole world would know with the way I act. She told me I was bullying her and that I should go after Dad and not her. I told her I'll go after both until I can cut them out of my life for good. Then I told her she didn't deserve to have a happy life after what she did. My aunt, Dad's sister, came over after Haley called her and she asked me to stop bringing it up. She told me Haley and my dad don't need to be forgiven, but that reminding Haley like this and shaming her and making it difficult for her to have relationships where people won't know and judge isn't okay because the kids she and Dad have together will suffer. Stories number 10. Aita for not giving my sale time to find alternative childcare before refusing to watch her son anymore. My 28F husband, 33M, has an older half-brother, 43M, who has a son, 4, around our daughter's age, also 4. My SAL, 36F, half-brother's wife, works, but I do not. I am a SOM, because my husband worked in his 20s to build 2 pretty successful local businesses and he works a lot, so it's better for our family for me to stay home. We also have a farm, so we have lots of land and it's basically a kid's dream. My BAL and SAL spent their 20s traveling, so they don't really have their finances in order, they both work and struggle to make ends meet. My husband helps them a lot, but he gets burned out helping them with things, so he generally keeps his distance. He has tried to stay completely out of this issue. At first, I felt bad for my BLSAL, so I offered to help them with childcare with my nephew. I do this for free, they don't pay me anything to watch him. And it was great at first, because my daughter had someone to play with while I took care of farm and house chores. I quickly realized my nephew is not being parented well. I get that they both work, but they overindulge him to a point that is kind of ridiculous. He thinks everything is negotiable. No doesn't mean no, it means scream about it until the adults relent. He cries and screams when he doesn't get his way. He tests boundaries all the time and constantly tries to push against them. I see that his mother encourages this behavior. Every time he is upset she tries to negotiate with him and usually just gives him what he wants but says we'll talk about it later at home when he's calmed down. I roll my eyes at this because I just know it isn't true, they don't address anything with him. I know because I spend every weekday with him and I feel like I'm constantly having to reparent him. For instance, one huge issue is they have taught him he does not have to share. If he doesn't want to share a toy, he doesn't have to. This causes a lot of problems at my house. My rule with my daughter is if you want to hang out with your friends, you have to share. We put up toys that she genuinely doesn't want to share, but it's like 2 plush toys that are special to her, not all of her toys. Her dad and I have made it clear to her that we buy her toys to share, not to hoard. I expect the same thing of my nephew, and I have made this clear to him as well. If he brings a toy to my house and he doesn't want to share, I confiscate the toy so no one plays with it and then I give it to his mom telling her not to let him come back with it. She has always had an issue with how I handle sharing. She's tried to coach me on how to properly handle sharing, according to her. She expects me to essentially distract my child with another toy if her son doesn't want to share. I made it clear that when he's at my house he has to follow my rules. I do not entertain them or manage their play. If a toy is causing problems it disappears. Period. They don't always have to play the same thing at the same time, but if they can't at least take turns with a toy then it gets put away, and if it's his toy then I tell him it won't be allowed back. I have preemptively confiscated toys that I've previously said were not allowed back when I've seen that he has them again. I used to give him second chances, but I quickly learned that it was just teaching him he could undermine my authority. His mom, however, constantly tries to undermine my authority. Once a week I take them to the park. It's about a quarter mile down the road from our house, so I make the kids walk or ride their scooters or bikes. My nephew is lazy and always wants to be carried or pushed. I give a firm no, and he cries. But then his mom messaged me saying, "Son, doesn't want to walk to the park anymore, so we came up with a plan. Why don't you take them to the water park, that way you all can drive and I'll leave you his car seat." I said, no, because the water park costs money, it's harder to watch two kids there, and I never agreed to carpool them anywhere. She then found another park on the other side of town and suggested that. Again, I did not agree to carpool my nephew anywhere. He knew about these attempts at rearranging our plans because he'd bring up how his mom said we could go to another park, and then cry when I tell him I wasn't open to that. My nephew has caused a lot of issues that I ultimately blame his parents for, like taking one bite out of every strawberry in the bowl just to be spiteful so my daughter couldn't have any. That has happened multiple times with multiple snacks. Trying to sneakily steal toys and then his mom asking if he can borrow it when I check his bag and call him out on it. But my final straw with my nephew was when he started trying to encourage my daughter to push boundaries with me. I tell him he couldn't do something like climbing up the gate to the horse pasture, and he'll just look at me then say, "Daughter, climb up here with me." He's been doing this for a few weeks now, and I told his mother that if he was going to encourage my daughter to disrespect my rules he would not be allowed back over. She essentially tried to defend him saying it's age appropriate. She really just brushed it all off. Well, it happened again yesterday. We were baking cookies and he decided to throw chocolate chips across the room. I told him to stop and he ignored me and told my daughter to throw them with him. She was scared to do it because she knew it was against my rules, so then he had an absolute meltdown when I took him away from the kitchen and put him in timeout. He actually started throwing things around my living room and screaming at me. He kept coming back into the kitchen and I had to physically remove him over and over again. I have never had these issues with my own kid, so I was losing my mind. I called my SIL and my BL ended up coming to pick him up early. I told him he wasn't welcome back, that I was done. Maybe I'm an AH for reaching my breaking point and not giving them more notice, but I thought I was being helpful. And I gave them plenty of warnings that his behavior was not acceptable or appropriate in my home. I gave advice on how to parent a little better. Maybe that makes me an AH since he's not my kid, but I don't know. I told her he wouldn't be allowed back multiple times, but this time I mean it. My SIL thinks I'm an AH because I refuse to acknowledge that our children are just different, and he's not a bad kid, he just has a different temperament than my daughter. I don't think he's a bad kid. I think he's always been allowed to misbehave, and he's been taught that if he has a violent screaming and throwing meltdown then he'll get his way. She's mostly mad, saying that she doesn't have time to figure out what she's going to do with him, and she wants me to finish off the week. I just simply have reached my limit and do not want to continue watching him, even for just a few more days. So AITA for not giving them a week to find another childcare option. Should I have given them more notice time, or am I justified? Stories number 11. My dog jumped out of the car window today and I'm broken. Please, no matter how brilliant you think your dogs are, or how you know your dog knows better, even how well trained they are, do not keep your car window down for your dog. Today my 2-year-old German Shepherd Jojo jumped out of the window while we were traveling cross-state. We've always left the window down for him without issue. We were 8 hours into this drive, with the window down for plenty in the meantime. And then he just decided to leap out at 60 miles per hour. It's now been 8 hours of constant searching into the AM, and no sight or sign of him, after searching through the grasses and in woods and ditches. We weren't able to find blood on any of the guardrails or grass, so we're hopeful he just rolled into the grass and ran off scared. But he's wearing his leash and the area is surrounded by different roadways. Instead of hiking through the Smoky Mountains, now we're staying in a motel 2 states south of our original destination, trying to get a little sleep so we can search more at sunrise. Please, if you live anywhere near Hartwell, Georgia, message me if you find a lost light brown GSD mix with white underbelly, or would be willing to come help look. And for everyone else, please don't make this mistake. This fun vacation trekking out into the mountains, at one with nature, has instead turned into Hell Night. Update 1. Hi everyone. This post is getting a lot of traction and I'm really happy to see that. Hopefully it'll help get the right Georgian eyes on this, and maybe even prevent a tragedy for someone else. Still no sign of Jojo, but we haven't stopped looking. For those asking, Jojo is chipped, but there's been no calls yet. I don't think the chip has GPS, only identification if located. I did actually put a pet tracking device on Jojo for the trip, but it turns out it only has Bluetooth range. It's been useless so far. But that means he's probably at least moving around, right? I've been taking up a lot of the advice here, from posting to the Georgia subreddit to calling up shelters and animal control. I even posted on the local Facebook groups and one of those posts has gotten almost 60 shares. Flyers is the next step, but I have to wait for my partner to come back to the hotel to go make the prints, and I think he's afraid to leave the area. We'll update again when I can. Update 2. We received a text and a message in the local FB group that he was spotted alive at 7 a.m. walking along the side of the road searching for us. Finding that out just improves things so much, knowing we don't have to keep checking the ditches near where he fell out. The SO also did a great job and handed out information to a bunch of people and left out some of Jaja's food away from the road near where he was seen and put some familiar smelling scents there. Jojo wasn't there just now, but we'll check again later. Flyers are coming up next. Update 3. We found him. He's got a head bump but he's in the car. He's okay. Battery is at 2% and I need to tell a lot of people, but I'll write more here later. Thank you everyone, I got a lot of love and support here and some great advice. Thank you. Update 4. A final update for anyone out there who maybe wanted the extra details. After 2 days of no sleep I'm finally the last one awake. We celebrated with pizza because the lady at Caesar's Pizza was extra nice when I was sobbily handing out lost flyers. Jojo got a slice and also some of his favorite treats, and we didn't even make him do any tricks for them. Boyfriend and Jojo passed out together on the floor. https, imager.com 3iuw0zf. I don't think Jojo got any sleep either. He stinks to God, but we'll wash him when he's not so tired. All the vets were closing by the time we could get to them, but SO is a former EMT and took a look at him, checked for concussion, and sanitized the wounds. Nothing seems broken, but Jaja's paws are all cut up and hurt and one of his nails came off. No mountain climbing this week for sure, but with the vet's blessing tomorrow, we'll drive him to a lake and relax and have ourselves a good meal before heading home. Shout out again to all the advice we got here. We were able to get the word out effectively and find the spots that Jojo kept visiting thanks to all the people on Reddit and Facebook who suggested where I should call and where to post. I'm normally a super introverted person, hence this 4-year-old lurker account, but I was able to speak up in the right directions with guidance. And shout also to the cool people of Georgia who helped us find our dog. By the end we kept getting to places Jojo had just been and someone would point us to the next spot he was seen at. Eventually got advice to go to a house near a lake and there he was, hanging out in the shade. He ran to us, and man, if you don't think dogs can cry, they can cry. We all cried. Overall I think this is the best possible end to one of the worst possible vacations. And finally, shout out to the real heroes of this thread, people advising dog seatbelt harnesses and closed cracked windows. Please buy your dog a seatbelt harness if this post somehow still hasn't scared you into it enough already. Stories number 12. Aita for not claiming my friend's mistake on my insurance. Hi. I, 26F, and my friend from college, 26F, both moved into the same apartment building. She lives on the floor above mine. One weekend she put me along with a bunch of our mutual friends in a group chat because she wanted to have a barbecue on our roof. She has hosted many before, but this would be the first one I ever attended. Because I don't eat red meat, I did not eat anything that was cooked on the grill and only brought chips, a bottle and paper plates. When the day was over, the group of us went downstairs to watch a reality show. My friend who lives in my building and the girl who owned the grill discussed that they would leave the grill to cool off. Once the reality show was over, I went back to my apartment and went to sleep. The next day everyone in my building receives an email saying that there was a fire on the roof last night because someone dumped coals in the trash can on the roof and they relit due to the wind. I took a screenshot of the email and sent it to my friend who then put it in the group chat of everyone. Her and our other friend, who owned the grill, told us that they decided to take the grill home the same day because they didn't want to have to come back and get it the next day. So the girl in my building gave the grill owner her keys to go get the grill on the roof, and the grill owner decided that it would be the best thing to just toss the coals into the trash can on the roof. Our building requires multiple key taps to get on and off the roof, and they also have cameras, so they immediately told my friend in my building she was responsible since it was her guest using her keys. A week later, my friend came to me and asked me to put it on my insurance since she nor the grill owner had renter's insurance. I spoke with a few lawyers and my old insurance agent, and they all said that this would be fraud. So I told my friend I did not feel comfortable doing so. Another week goes by and she asked me again because she believed that she would have to go bankrupt over the situation. She did not. I again said no because I did not feel comfortable and reiterated that I was told that this would be fraud. From then, she started to run a smear campaign, saying that I was the bad friend and all of our friend group stopped talking to me because they said that I should have at least tried to put it on my insurance. They now all want me to apologize to all of them and work for their friendship again since they believe that I was in the wrong, but I feel like I didn't do any wrong. So Witta. Stories number 13. AIO for skipped my sister wedding because she was charging admission. I could use some outside perspective on a family mess that's been really bothering me. My older sister is getting married soon. I was honestly super excited at first. I love weddings, and she seemed really happy. But things got kind of weird once she started planning everything. Instead of just inviting people to celebrate, she and her fiancé decided that every family member needed to pay to attend. Not like buying your own dress or travel, which I'd expect, but actually pitching in for the wedding expenses, things like the catering, flowers, decor, and whatever else they've got planned at this fancy hotel venue. They're calling it a shared celebration and acting like it's normal for guests to help fund it. Her fiancé's family is on board and paying their share, so I guess it's just expected that we do the same. When she told me, I was kind of shocked. I brought up how uncomfortable it made me and how it felt less like a wedding and more like buying a ticket to a private party. I also gently suggested maybe going with a less expensive wedding if money was that tight, but she completely shut me down. She got super defensive, said I wasn't being supportive, and we ended up yelling at each other. She even blocked me for a bit after that. Eventually, I got a wedding invitation, but inside was a note saying that unless I had contributed, I shouldn't come. At that point, I just felt done. I love my sister, but it felt really wrong to be asked to pay hundreds if not up to $1,000 just to be there, especially when I wasn't even asked to be a bridesmaid or anything. Plus, she's not covering hotel rooms, and it's in a super pricey location. I'm still in school, I work part-time, and I just don't have that kind of money to spare. My parents think I should just pay it, show up, and keep the peace, but honestly, I don't feel like being guilted into spending that kind of money just to prove I care about my sister. So yeah, I didn't go. And now things are tense. Stories number 14. AIO because my boyfriend is still secretly talking to his exes. I, 24F, have been dating my boyfriend, 27M, for almost a year. Things were great at first, but over the last few months I've noticed small things like him hiding his phone screen when I walk by or even turning off notifications. Recently I found out he's still talking to one of his exes. Not just casual low hey hope you're doing well message, but late night convos, jokes and even calling him by pet name they used to use. The girl even sent a flirty selfie. When I confronted him he said I was blowing things out of proportion and that they are just friends, but if that's true, why hide it, and deleted messages. I don't want to be controlling but I feel disrespected. He says I'm being insecure and paranoid but my gut says otherwise. Am I overreacting for feeling betrayed and thinking about ending things over this? Update. Hey again, everyone. I wasn't planning to update this, but after reading all your responses and sitting with my thoughts for a few days, a lot has happened. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented, even the brutally honest ones. I needed that wake-up call more than I realized. I spent so long trying to rationalize his behavior, convincing myself I was being too sensitive, that I forgot what it actually feels like to be respected and emotionally safe in a relationship. So, after my original post, I decided to sit down and have a real conversation with him, not a confrontation, but a calm, direct talk. I asked him straight up, why are you still entertaining flirty convos with your ex if you say you love me? Why the secrecy? And of course, he gave me the usual gaslight parade, you're blowing this out of proportion, she's just a friend, you're overthinking again. But this time, I didn't fold. I didn't get defensive or cry. I just looked at him and said, you clearly care more about keeping this connection alive with your ex than being honest with me. I'm done. And y'all, he had nothing to say after that. Just silence. I packed my essentials that night and stayed at a friend's place. I didn't block him, but I muted everything. No more back and forth. No drama. Just silence, and peace. I'm not gonna lie, it still hurts. Almost a year of my life, and I feel like I never really knew who he was. But weirdly, I feel more powerful now than I have in months. Like I finally chose me. If anyone else reading this is in that same confused, gut-screaming space, listen to it. People who love you won't leave you guessing. Thanks again to everyone who helped me see what I was refusing to admit to myself. Stories number 15. Aita for being petty to my girlfriend's parents. I already understand I've been petty, and most likely the asshole, but would still like some advice going forward. I apologize that this will be a wall of text. I am going to try to explain context. I will include a TLDR at the bottom. I, M25, and my girlfriend, F26, have been together for about 4.5 years now. Her and I moved in together just over 1 year ago as well. We were going to after her degree, but a falling out with her roommate happened led to us moving in together a year early. Our relationship has been fine, we don't argue often, support each other's separate interests, and overall living together has been quite hassle-free. The only thing that has caused minor arguments between us is that she hates confrontation. For example, she works as a supervisor part-time, and where she works the people being hired for her to train are paid more than her. She hasn't gotten a raise of any kind in over a year, which is illegal. She refuses to bring it up to the manager, or anyone at all. This is frustrating, especially since she moved into my place. She hasn't been able to afford to put anything forth. I own the place myself, including pay for our car insurance, gas, and pay all of the bills, except we go 50-50 for groceries, and it's been tough for how much I get paid, because it's not a lot, but shouldn't be much longer. Anyways, her family and I have been decently close. They helped me move a couple years ago, they helped her move in last year, and we visit them for all major holidays and visit decently often since we got together. Her family and I only don't agree on one thing, which is my religion. I am not religious, but they are quite Christian, and my girlfriend is non-practicing, unknowingly to them. So whenever I go over, they are overall the top on everything, my girlfriend's words, not mine, on their religion, and constantly trying to force me to join them in their practices, and whenever I decline they say things under their breath like, "Oh, we will fix you," in a half-jokingly manner. But we have never visited long, so it's never been much of an issue, usually only 2 to 4 hours at a time. They live around 6 hours away from us, in another city. My girlfriend moved to my city around 7 years ago, before we met. This is where I believe, and everyone else, that I am being an asshole, and the current issue. We stayed at their house for the first time overnight a couple months ago, and while there for around 6 hours, it was all going well till it got to around night time. They told me I should get the couch ready, and I was confused as my girlfriend has a room sizable for the both of us, so I questioned. I thought I'd just sleep with girlfriend's name, and they declined, saying that our relationship wasn't at that level in their eyes. I accepted, and did not want to argue, as it's their house and their rules. But I am quite tall, 6 feet 6 inches, and I grew a lot of that when I was young in an incredibly short amount of time, which resulted in a lot of medical back pain, and issues for my entire life, and being unable to even do the sports I used to love. So I told them I wouldn't be able to sleep on the couch sadly, especially since it was barely bigger than a love seat, but would be more than okay purchasing a room at a hotel for myself and girlfriend. They also live within a couple minutes from some hotels, so I'd most likely be able to find a room close by, and they said I was turning it into way too big of a deal and to respect their beliefs, and after back and forth, they eventually said they give up and told me to sleep wherever I wanted, and they were not happy, and went to bed themselves. I was going to purchase a hotel for myself, but my girlfriend got upset at me for attempting to do so, so I stayed on the couch, which resulted in zero sleep, and my back hurting for a couple days. But I was at least able to watch some good movies. Nor they brought it up the next day, and we eventually left. Since then I felt quite quality, as my girlfriend said I shouldn't have argued in their house. Now months later, they were wondering if they could visit us, and stay with us. My girlfriend and I agreed, of course. But before they arrived, I let them know that our couch wasn't quite big enough for 2 people, and they were very confused. I told them they would be sleeping on the couch, and they asked why. I told them that I felt they didn't respect our relationship to their standards, and I followed the rules under their house, so they should follow mine. They argued once again that since they are married their relationship is more respected than ours. I told them that them being married doesn't mean that for me, and if they are coming to my house they have to follow the rules of such too. They ended up hanging up, and texting my girlfriend they would not come over until I would apologize to them, and was in the right mind. This led to my girlfriend and I arguing about this, and she agrees that their relationship is more respectable due to being married, and I told her that marriage isn't what grants me respect for a relationship, it's the foundation it's built on, and how 2 people treat each other, and those around them. So, should I apologize, and allow them to sleep in the spare bedroom? My girlfriend believes I am being incredibly childish, petty, and unreasonable. Which I definitely agree I am being petty, but I still just don't feel right allowing them to do whatever they want in my house, if they don't respect my relationship with their daughter. They were happy, and didn't say anything about us moving in, but feel weird in us sleeping in the same bed at their house, which I found weird, but also never brought up. TLDR, girlfriend's parents won't let us sleep in the same bed at their house. They are now refusing to come over because they can't sleep in the same bed at my house either. Update 1. TLDR of last post. I was a petty, childish asshole and wasn't letting my girlfriend's parents sleep in the same bedroom at my place because they wouldn't let us sleep in the same bedroom at theirs. So I read the comments, and it helped me realize from outside POVs that I was 110% being a petty asshole. I already sort of knew that, but hearing people with no connection to us confirm it helped open my eyes. I pulled my girlfriend aside the next day of my post, and apologized, admitted I was being childish, petty, an asshole, and that I wasn't acting my age, I was more like acting a toddler not sharing toys. She agreed and laughed at my analogy, and forgave me as long as I called her parents, which was my next plan anyways. I called her parents, said roughly the same thing, and they agreed, did not laugh, and told me that they will find another date in the future and reschedule staying with us, which I told them sounded great, and we hung up. All was well, but the comments, and some private messages helped me realize as well, that my girlfriend's not taking initiative was something I needed to seriously talk to her about and stop letting go if I planned on marrying her. I thought of how to say everything I wanted to, etc., and a day or two later I decided to talk to her. I told her how much I love her, the person she is, and brought up many things she brings to our relationship to start things out. I then brought up how if we are going to work more in a healthy manner as we get more serious and conjoined, things do need to be more equal between us. So I wanted to work on a compromise. I pay for everything, except 50 groceries, I do the majority of the cooking and cleaning, etc. as you all know. She got quite upset at this, and was trying to say she doesn't have value in our relationship, but I tried to reassure her, and the conversation sort of ended there. I stuck my ground and 2 days later, I brought it up again once the dust settled, and while the conversation was rocky. We worked on a compromise that she will ask her boss about the raise she deserves, will begin doing more of the cooking and cleaning. Not more than before, but more than me. I asked her also if she would talk to her parents about the whole trying to convert me thing and well. Baby steps, not gonna happen yet. Anyways, why I still need advice as well. Since we had that last conversation I thought things would be better, but she's been cold. She's been only cooking really quick meals, like frozen stuff, mac and cheese, etc. and I tried talking to her about it and that I'd be happy to teach her the stuff I'd make for us but she always says if you don't like it, make us stuff you do, which is fair. But I know she's as good of a cook as me. I tried talking to her if things are stressing her out, she declines. I tried asking if anything's wrong, she declines, etc. She's been cold. Our sex life took a nosedive from once every 2 days, only twice since my last post. I tried feeding into her love languages, she likes words of affirmation a lot so I've been complimenting her extra and reassuring her, but she seems uninterested. I even tried asking her if I explained anything badly, or said the wrong thing about the conversations above, and she says no. What can I do to make her feel happier? She barely even greets me when I come home now. TLDR, apologize to my GF, and her parents about last post. Ever since bringing up stuff that bugged me, she has been very cold. Update. A. Spend a week doing everything for myself, by myself. Watch what I please, make just my own food, and finally take the classes I have been waiting for her to agree to, pottery, baking, etc., and just do my own thing and see how she treats it. My main fear being that she will just see this as petty, and that I'm doing the same thing as I almost did to her parents in my last post. B. Try and talk to her one more time about all of this, which most likely she won't be receptive to. Tell her how I feel, what I want in a relationship and needs to change if it wants to work. I obviously fear she will break up with me for that, but if she does it's probably for the best. Update. I think I will choose A. Try and give her a slight taste of her medicine, and then bring up how I've felt maybe she will understand better once she sees me doing my own thing. Update 2. TLDR of last post. After apologizing to everyone, I requested some changes in the dynamic of the relationship, and since my girlfriend agreed she has been cold with me since. Hey everyone, it's been nearly 3 weeks since my last post and I tried using this account so I'd remember but I forgot to update. My post gained a bit of traction and people have been requesting an update, so I felt I should oblige, and I will continue to update if anything else goes on, but I'm not sure after this update anything will be happening. I once again tried to read and reply to as many comments as I could, and I really appreciate everyone's advice. It helped me realize that things need to change or need to end. The way she has been treating me was not okay, and that I was essentially a doormat. It's hard to tell these things when you're with someone for years, and from my POV, when you really want it to work. Now I did as I said in my post update. Some people were suggesting, what if you did what you pleased, and led her to her own devices? How would she react? So that is what I attempted. On Monday, the 21st, I decided to wake up early for work, and make my own breakfast. By the time she got up, I was nearly done eating. She questioned why I made my own, and I told her you told me if I didn't like what you made, make something myself. She asked why I hadn't made her some, and I told her she can make her own. We sort of left it at that. Throughout the next couple days, I watched what I felt like. When I felt like, I purchased a class to make pottery without even telling her, stopped asking her if she wanted to do stuff with me, and made all my own meals myself. After the first day she stopped really asking me anything, and just didn't care I was on my own. It truly felt like I just had a roommate that I shared a bed with. It sucked. A lot. But I was hoping it would show her how I felt. After about a work week of doing this, I was at my limit, and couldn't really take it anymore. Neither could she apparently, since she was starting to make comments again. We were growing more distant, and we started arguing for most our conversations. On Saturday I prepared to sit down and talk to her one finale time about everything. I woke up early and made my own breakfast, and as soon as she came into our kitchen she went off on me. Yelling at me if I don't love her, if I am cheating on her, how shitty of a boyfriend I've been being, etc. I kind of just sat there and took it. I wasn't even done my damn breakfast. I sort of ignored her entire crash out on me, and I'm not sure if it calmed her or made it last longer honestly, but once she was done I told her we needed to talk and I'd tell her everything, and I think she thought I was going to admit I cheated or something, since she looked livid. I firstly told her I wasn't cheating and would never, then I brought up how she had made me feel for a long time now, how much she has learned to expect out of me, and that I truly do love her, and she might love me but it no longer feels like she cares. How her parents aren't going to convert me, how her not letting me discuss all this with her before was wrong, etc. This dissolved once again into another fight but it wasn't too bad. Kinda just going back and forth for a while. We calmed down, and I told her it's best she left and we had some space. I felt kinda sick to my stomach doing that. I probably have an issue giving up on things but whatever. She tried to tell me I was stupid, and how a decision like that would be horrible for me, how no one would love me the way I expect to be loved, or treat me the way I think I should be treated, and no woman would want to be with a man she has to nurture like a child. I tried telling her it was just for some space and to not insult me, but she didn't seem to listen, so I repeated to please leave. She asked where she would go. I told her to just go, and if she needs money for a hotel or anything to let me know. She left, somewhere I guess, and didn't request any money. She texted me a couple times throughout the night on that Saturday and I ignored it. Till nighttime I told her I'd pack all her stuff and she can come tomorrow, and I turned my phone back on Do Not Disturb. Most her messages were just pointless insults. I woke up early on the Sunday and packed things really quickly lol, like I had to move, and my landlord would be here in 20 minutes. She didn't come till the afternoon, and when she did she said she was shocked I actually packed things up, and if I was really serious about being this stupid and throwing it all away, and I said yes. Honestly, I think her just believing we were breaking up right now made it easier. I kinda just rolled with it. I did tell her I want to still talk and see if she can see where it went wrong. This obviously turned into another fight, but I just told her to get her stuff and leave. She stormed out, slammed the door and left. There was still a couple things. I couldn't pack everything, and I called a buddy of mine and asked him to stay at mine for the week and he said sure. She came over the next couple days. The first day she tried insulting me again saying I needed my buddy to keep me safe and shit, but after that it was just silent when she came to collect her things. By the time it was last week's end it was really quiet, around the first Thursday. My buddy left after she got the last of her things. My house was quiet, I kinda hated it. We weren't really texting, but for some reason I decided to call her. She picked up. I asked her why things got like this. She said she didn't know, and was sorry. She apologized for everything, and said she wished she was better, and I said I wish I was too. She asked if she could come home eventually, and I told her I'd think about it, so I thought about it. I read my posts again, I read all your comments again, and I decided no. So I called her up, and told her that it's best we end this for good. All she said was, "Are you serious?" I said yes, and immediately hung up. She blew up my phone with a ton of calls and texts, but I put it on Do Not Disturb. Last Saturday, her parents even texted me that I was horrible, and a bunch of other things. Since then it's been quiet for the last week. I don't know who she's staying with, where she went, who she came with to collect her stuff, or was driving her. I have tried not to think about it. I still have a lot of unanswered questions, and I'm sorry I can't give them to y'all. So yeah. It's been officially like almost a week without contact. There was probably times she could have caught me and convinced me to stay, but she kind of ended it herself in my mind. TLDR, I went a week doing my own thing. She blew up. I sat her down and told her how I felt, and how she made me feel. It ended in me telling her to leave. Over the next week she collected her stuff. We called, I made the decision to end things for good. She has blown up my phone, as well as her parents about how horrible I am. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, The ironic thing is, she'll finally ask for that raise, now because now she can't afford not to. I'm not entirely clear as to why you broke up. I think it's because she wasn't contributing equitably to the relationship, neither financially or effort-wise, as in meal prep and such. Living with an imbalance of effort and responsibilities definitely gets old. I'm sure we're all curious to know how she justified the imbalance from her point of view. Reply: honestly, the whole situation just seems messy. It all started because she was upset I didn't want to sleep on the couch, and it became a saga of situation getting worse and worse. I think her and I probably had a lot of things we disliked about the relationship we were not working on, or talking about properly, and this was kind of the final straw that led to it ending. I too am curious how she justified it, especially looking back on it, but I really got used to it over time and kinda stopped thinking about it while in the relationship. Commenter 2, you dodged a massive bullet. I'm glad she's gone. Now block her, her parents, and any of her friends on your phone and social media. Change your locks too. Reply: seems to be the idea. I have checked my place 100 times in case there's anything left over of hers here, just so she can't claim there is anything of hers still here. I am very curious who she is staying with helped her get her stuff, cause I probably want to stop being friends with them. We have a lot of mutual friends and not a lot of strictly her friends my friends, which may complicate things when more people begun learning we broke up. How? Commenter 3, hey man, in all honesty probably shouldn't have offered her money when she left, haha, it probably sucks now but this was definitely for the best. She tried to manipulate you to letting her stay so she could keep living her lifestyle with no costs, not because she actually loved you or anything. Wish you the best going forward. Update 3. People have been requesting I keep them updated to my dumb little drama lol, and this sort of has turned into a diary for me at this point. I found some answers to one of the questions that people, and I, have been wondering, and a bit of a mini update, that I will turn into long tangents as per usual. I have been trying to learn Reddit formatting so my tangents aren't as bad to read. The primary one being who has she been driving with, staying with, and collecting her stuff with? Turns out it is a somewhat mutual friend of ours, who she knew prior to us dating from school. I know he lives alone, but I only ever really hang out with him maybe 10 times total since meeting him multiple years ago, and all at group stuff. No, I haven't contacted him, and I don't plan on it. I found out through a different guy who is from that original friend group that is much closer to us me now. When he visited him he was confused why she was staying there. I don't know or think they are anything more than friends, but I am still very confused why he of all people is who she's staying with. He actually lives farther from her work and uni than I do, and neither one of us, to my knowledge, were that close to him. The update is, I signed up for therapy, which will begin in a week and a half. I blocked her and her parents after she tried calling me again about 3 days ago. No idea what she was going to say, but the second I saw the phone ringing from her, I cancelled and blocked. Next it turns out she has been telling some of our mutual that are closer to her that we broke up because I was incredibly mean to her and her family, and trying to make her do everything in the relationship, that our friend she's staying with now helped her escape me. I found this out since I was talking, casually, to one of them online. She asked how I was doing. I told her I was doing fine, just focusing on myself and trying to become a better person, and she responded that's good, I would really hope so, which led to the conversation of what I now know. She heard me out, but I understood she really wasn't believing me, so I just left it. Finally, I was invited a couple days ago to a birthday house party get-together this coming Saturday, which I know she's friends with too. I have no idea if she's going, but I am tempted not to go if I find out she is, but I really like the dude. No idea what I should be doing in regards to that, or her telling people how we ended. TLDR. X has been telling people false things about how we broke up, that she essentially escaped me, and I have a birthday party in 3 days I should attend that she might be at. No idea what to do about either since she reacted harshly when I broke up with her. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I hope you've rekeyed the locks and changed passwords on everything, including the Wi-Fi router. Change every password you can, including on your phone and email and financial accounts. Don't give her a chance to cause you any problems once she realizes you're not going to get back with her. Make sure you tell your friends why you broke up so she can't tell them some lies to make herself look better. Enjoy living by yourself and starting a new adventure. Being by yourself has to be better than what you were dealing with at the end. Reply, I did on Sunday. I got new locks for my place, and I made sure to change my passwords thanks to people letting me know on my last post. I will definitely change the Wi-Fi router though too now. The friend I had sleep over knows of course, plus a couple other people, but I think I'll start texting some of my other friends and just casually bringing it up. I am primarily afraid she will literally tell everyone I know before I can even talk to them. Commenter 2. I would have sent this entire thread to that friend to show her it's real, but each to their own. Glad you're doing better, mate. Commenter 3. Honestly, my advice is to just go to the party. But don't even acknowledge her, or even care. Just act friendly, and normal to everyone if she's there. If she creates a scene, which I am betting she will, then everyone will know she was the problem and not you. For the people that believe you are the problem, if they think that you can tell them the truth. But it's truly up to them who they believe. Sadly, we can't change that. My favorite quote is, you can't change what people do or so, but you can always change how you react to them, which I tell myself a lot, and maybe you should keep that in mind with what's going on. Also, I'm sorry and this sucks for you, but I must say thank you for keeping us updated. I am sort of invested in this, haha. Update 4. Hey, it's me again. Thought I should update since I can't sleep before work tomorrow. Today was a holiday for me, and I've been thinking a lot. There will be a TLDR at the bottom of this post. I will probably start posting on my account from now on, since this is my 5th update after all, lol. Since my ex has been telling people she had to escape the relationship and much more, I started texting some mutual of ours, and kind of steer the conversation towards the breakup, and I said bits and pieces about how we broke up and such, and most the replies were essentially, well, that's not what she told me. And really, it's up to them who they believe, but at least my side, the truth is out there now, and not just whatever she's saying. I talked to my friend who stayed over while we were breaking up, and he's one of my few separate friends from her, and told me he'd back me up if ever needed, which is nice. I did decide to go to the party, and overall it went fine. She was there, but she didn't make a scene like some people thought she would. She was always on the other side of the rooms with her girlfriends, and 100% were just staring at me talking about me, but nothing worse than that. I didn't really drink, because I feared if I got drunk I'd make a fool of myself or go up and talk to her, lol. She did get very drunk though, but did not try to talk to me or anything. On Sunday morning though, I got a text from our good friend host, and he told me I wouldn't be invited over anymore. I asked why, and he said that my ex requested it, since at the party she felt very unsafe since I was there and incredibly uncomfortable. I won't lie, this upset me, and I asked him if she had any proof I've ever done anything to her, which he responded that I was victim blaming and stuff, so I promptly told him my side and the whole story, and all he said was it's best we remain calm, and you just don't come in the future. Which really sucks. Since the party, I've noticed a lot of my followers go down on everything. I never had a lot anyways, and that a lot of people are taking her side in things, and are unfriending me, removing me as their friend on everything without saying anything. I never had many separate friends from her, just mutual ones, but she always had a lot of separate ones, so this sucks. I have no idea what she's saying about me, our relationship either, other than from the one mutual friend before who said she had to escape the relationship, and was mean to her family, but I think it's much worse than just that. No idea where to go from here. TLDR, told my side of the story, the truth to people, went to the party and saw my ex. Nothing really happened till the next day. Our good friend the host requested I no longer come over for her sake, and not a lot of people are unfriending me on everything. Relevant comments. If he has friends of his own, is he feeling isolated because of his GF? Reply, I do have friends of my own, it's just those aren't relevant to the issue and I don't have as many as she does. A lot of my friends I had with her are mutual ones though. She has always been a lot more sociable than I, and always went out a lot while I rarely like going out very often. She's also in university still and I'm not, so she has a lot of university friends, while I spend a lot of my time working. While she's done some not great things, I don't think she's ever isolated me or made me feel that way till now. Commenter 1, I'm perplexed that no one was talking about the guy she stayed with in the last post, after the breakup. Usually she would have accused for cheating or something like that. I would not go that far, but a woman from a conservative, religious family staying over with someone from the opposite sex sounds sketchy at first. Reply, she's not as religious as her parents are for sure. She doesn't really go to church, unless we would be visiting, even though I always told her I'd drive her and such if she wanted to go. I'm not sure anyone in the friend group really know too much about her staying with the guy friend other than it seems like he stepped up quickly to save her. When I spoke to my friends about the breakup we never really talked about that, more so the breakup itself. I have no idea how her family is taking it with her living with the guy, or if they even know. For all I know she could be lying to her family and saying it's a girlfriend instead, cause I know her parents would be livid if they knew the truth. Commenter 2, you still have her texts? If yes, just send them to the people, and then go with, thanks for being such a good friend. You didn't even try to get the truth before choosing a side. Then block all of them. You are better off not having them as friends. Reply, I do. Not Instagram, when you block someone it deletes your history, and I've deleted all our texts and stuff, but I'm sure there's a way to get it back from recently deleted or something. I do think that's my next plan. I was originally gonna kinda let it slide till I started losing friends over this, but if I can get any texts that prove my point, which there was a lot of mean texts she sent when we first broke up, I'll be sending them to everyone. Commenter 3, why don't you just send everyone the posts on here? Let them see how the story unfolded themselves. Plus I'm sure you have to have some texts proving your side of things. Personally I would clear your name. It's great you tried to be the bigger person and just ignore it, but now it's costing you friends, could even damage career opportunities in the future. Reply, I do think that's my next course of action. I was originally going to let it kinda slide, till I started losing friends because of this. I can't get any Instagram texts back, since when you block someone it deletes your chat. But I'm sure I can get the actual texts back from recently deleted or something. If I can collect some texts that prove my point, which there was a lot of mean ones she sent when we first broke up, I will be sending them to my friends. I do really hope that she doesn't go any further than this. Another commenter said it was easy to fake texts and stuff, which I'm sure it is, and I don't want her trying to get me fired or anything. Stories number 16. Aita for ending a relationship because she wants full details of my wealth after 2 months of being together. A couple of my friends thought that I acted wrongly here. I'm curious what other people think. I, 40M, just ended a 2-month relationship with my now ex, 39F, I'll call her ex. I ended it because she pestered me to know about my finances, despite me saying that I wasn't comfortable letting her know something like that so early. Both of us were divorced once already, and we were both the person who asked for the divorce. Neither divorce was terrible, we both divorced for emotional differences. I try to keep my finances on the down low, for obvious reasons. I've lost a few friendships, and had to break contact with more than one family member due to money, people who asked for help and blew it. But this is pretty easy to do, because I don't live lavishly. I ride a bike most of the time, and I live in a relatively modest house. However, I don't work currently, aside from some volunteer work, so that's the one thing that stands out. I made some really good, lucky, financial choices early in my life. I bought a house at 17 with money I saved from a young age. My dad arranged the mortgage under his name, but I paid everything and took over the mortgage when I was old enough, and I worked hard to pay off the mortgage by the time I was 24. Long story short, this gave me a serious advantage with finances in my 20s, and I made a lot of investments, some of which paid off big time in the past few years, crypto. Today I don't work, but I'm not decided on being retired. I have some projects that I'm thinking of turning into a business. When X and I met, finances weren't discussed at all, and she seemed really down to earth. She even said a few times that money doesn't matter to her. I tried my best to keep my finances hidden from her, because I didn't want to have an inaccurate sense of her feelings for me. After being together for about 3 weeks, the subject of my finances came up, because of the fact that I don't work. I told her about my young homeownership, and having my mortgage paid off, and that I have enough money to not work. I shared with her the general sources of my income, but I refused to tell her how much money I had, which was what she wanted to know. I told her that was a boundary that I was setting, and I didn't want to share that kind of specific info. From that point, she seemed very fixated on finances, and her personality started changing. She constantly talked about lavish things she wants to do, like expensive trips, etc. And most of all, she did not give up on the questions about my finances. This continued consistently, and she would ask me specifically how much money I had, and how much I had invested, etc. It almost became an argument once. She raised her voice about it, and quickly cooled herself off about it and changed the subject. I wrongly told myself that cooling herself off like that was a good sign of maturity. Maybe it was. Each time she asked about it, I set a clear boundary by saying that I didn't think we were at a stage of our relationship where we should ask each other things like that. She would agree, and then slowly weasel her way back into the topic by the next time we saw each other. We weren't dating heavily, I would say. We're not teenagers who spend every waking moment together. We saw each other maybe 2 to 3 times per week, and she would spend the night occasionally, and we spent 2 entire weekends together. Maybe that's serious, but I don't think so. And we hadn't yet ever discussed moving in together, or much less marriage. So we weren't at a stage where I felt it was appropriate for us to ask each other things like that, especially when I had given her what I would consider to be enough information. Anyways, I broke things off this past weekend, and it didn't go well. She was very emotional about it, which I didn't expect considering the fact that I thought the relationship wasn't very far along. The only point I made in the breakup was that I felt like my privacy was being invaded because we had not reached any kind of relationship milestone that I would consider talking about things like finances. I told her that I could understand if we were talking about moving in together. She might want to know how financially secure I was. I talked to a few of my friends last night about the breakup. They had all met her once, and they liked her. 3 of my friends agreed that I acted immaturely, and that I shouldn't have been so secretive. One of my friends said it's unfair to hide something like that, because everyone else at least has a ballpark idea of how much money someone makes as soon as they know what kind of job they have, and she didn't have info like that, which is unfair to her. I didn't agree with this, because it's foolish to make assumptions like that, combined with the fact that she said multiple times that money didn't matter to her. I'm curious to hear what other people think about this. Edit. Lots of people seem to be under the impression that the big issue in this relationship was that she was a gold digger. The issue was that I was setting a boundary, and she repeatedly chose not to respect that. Stories number 17. My husband suddenly told me he wants more traditional roles. My 26F, husband, 26M, has been telling me he wants more traditional roles in our home and how I feel about it. For some context, I moved out of my parents' house at 18, had a job at 16 and always supported myself. When me and my husband started dating, I moved in a year of dating and then we got married 3 years later, so a total of 5 years together. We have a 3-year-old now, and when I gave birth I gave up everything to be a som. Sold my car, quit my job. Recently we put our 3-year-old in daycare and I have 2 part-time jobs, a pet service job where I'm gone 1 to 2 hours a day walking the dogs or feeding the cats, another retail job. That given I have been trying to find who I am outside of mother and wife since that has been my whole life for 3 to 4 years now. And so I haven't been keeping up with the laundry or the dishes, and it has been a big problem for my husband. He thinks that is only my job, and if he has to do it then he only does his clothes or only does dishes he needs. And I just don't feel that way. I feel like he can pick up the slack, and I've told him this and he doesn't seem to see it the way I do. I just need some advice on how to go about this, or if nothing is gonna change. I can't keep feeling like shit when I forget to do something during the day cause he doesn't have socks or a clean plate and he rages. Edit. I have seen all your comments and everyone saying to get a divorce, needs to go to therapy and figure out how you can dispose of someone you love so easily, because that's a you problem. Besides that, I'm not gonna divorce my husband cause he's actually a good man. Also, I don't only work 1 to 2 hours a day that was for my pet service, I work 36 hours plus 1 to 2 extra a day with the pet service. But I did talk to him, he understood that my intentions were to never be a trad wife, and he understood that's not how I was raised even though it was for him. We've always had a good understanding of where our expectations were, but they got blurred when going from som to working mom. He fully understands now it's both of our jobs to help out with the home along with bills. Divorce is not always the answer, especially if you love someone and their partner. A simple conversation can fix everything. I just needed advice on how to tackle the convo, not advice on how to divorce my husband and to take all his money. Thank you everyone who was reasonable and actually offered advice, instead of bashing me or my husband. And to the women who asked about our sex life, you're weird, in no way does that have anything to do with it. Stories number 18. Boyfriend and his girl best friend on social media being excessive. My boyfriend and I have been dating for a few months and we were long distant for a while until the beginning of this month when he moved to Chicago where I'm living at. When we first started talking, he never mentioned anything about his best friend until about 2 months ago he mentioned about a friend that was coming over but would never mention the gender. Then eventually he said it was his best friend and that it was a girl. Right before he was moving, he told me he was trying to convince his best friend to move to Chicago as well. He was saying she's really cool, and super supportive, blah blah, that's all great. Every time they hang out, she comes over to his place and it's always super late at night. I've asked him about her and he said they were just friends and merely platonic. The night before he moved, she was at his place and he has a thing where he keeps all his payments on Venmo and whatnot private. He even asks me to pay him and keep it on private so no one can see his activity. I was on Venmo that night paying a friend of mine for something and I see she pays him at 3:50 a.m. and it's out all on public. Last night I was on Facebook and he had posted that he had moved to Chicago, and under that post, he tags her and says, "Sorry my sweet baby girl." Then he shared a photo of them together and she comments on that saying, "My bae." She's always commenting on his stuff with hearts and saying things like me and you for other random posts. I understand that some friends do really playful stuff or act silly online, but seeing that caught me off guard. In the past, I've had trust issues with guys, and one of my exes who had a girl best friend was secretly hooking up with her while we were together, which is why this whole situation is a bit triggering. I have no problem with him having friends that are girls, that's not the issue at all. I'm just not really sure why he's so secretive about her specifically. I know if I were to approach him about this, he might just say I'm being insecure and there's nothing going on between them, but he's mentioned a few times that he really wants her to move here, making me think if they've hooked up, had a past, etc. I don't want to feel insecure about this, but I don't know how to approach him about this. TLDR, I'm suspicious about the relationship between my boyfriend and his best friend and I'm not sure how to approach him about it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Have you ever met her in person, or communicated directly with her? Are you tagged on his social media, listed as in a relationship, photos together, etc.? Because I'll be honest, from what you've written, it sure sounds like she's his GF, and he's playing you. Reply. Nope, I've never met her. We've only been together for a few months, so we haven't publicly put it out that we're in a relationship. Commenter 2. If she was actually his best friend, he would have mentioned his girlfriend of several months to her. I'm so sorry, but she's his girlfriend. Commenter 3. Have you had a talk about exclusivity? Are you officially dating? Reply. Yeah, we've definitely talked about exclusivity and we made things official. I even asked him the night them two were hanging out that if he had any interests in anyone else to let me know, and he said that he didn't have any interests in anyone else except me. Commenter 4. Him calling her his sweet baby girl is crossing the line, you're valid in feeling insecure. Bring it up to him and ask him if they've had feelings for one another and let him know how you feel. I also see that you haven't publicly put out you're in a relationship. Does the other girl know about you? You could be the other woman in this relationship, to be honest. Reply, I'm sure she definitely knows about me. Whenever they hang out, he's usually texting me, which I find odd. If I were hanging out with someone, I personally wouldn't be on my phone, but the times I knew they were hanging out, he was texting me and responding fairly quickly as well. Update. I read all the replies and I got many messages for an update. I appreciate all the advice that everyone gave. I called the bird brain last night and basically went off on him. He had explained that they previously did have a past many years ago, but they had reconnected after his last relationship, but it was strictly platonic. But then, he tells me that he has herpes. That's one thing. Then tells me that I should possibly get tested. The last time we were physically together was in May. I confronted him and asked him if he slept with someone, and he admitted that he slept with one person, pretty sure there were more. He said it meant nothing and it was only physical and there was nothing emotional about it. I asked why he did it and he said it was more of a last hurrah before he moved, but it was with someone totally random. I asked how you meet someone random and he hesitated and said Tinder. Hearing all of this, I didn't know what to say and was in complete shock. He said he was sorry and it didn't mean anything. He said he understood if I wanted to break up but would still want to be friends because I'm really important in his life. I obviously immediately broke up with him, but it feels like a huge weight is off of my shoulders. I don't plan on being friends with him either, since it shows that he's trying to have me around in his life, more of a benefit to him. He's a piece of shit and I'm glad he has herpes, smiley face. Another update. There were things I needed to get off my chest for my own closure, and so I sent him a message saying that I'm not comfortable being friends after everything that he's done and he's trying to keep me around and whatnot. He responded back with a few messages, but the one I thought that was hilarious was when he said, I am upset about the whole situation and the prospect of losing you in my life. You are an amazing woman and it was a pleasure getting to know you. I wish you the best and hope down the line, we are able to reconcile. I realized with his response, he never apologized for hurting me or about the situation itself and saying he's hurt. I'm glad I got out of it sooner than later. I removed him off all my socials as well. Thank you everyone for the comments and support. I'll make an appointment soon to get tested. TLDR, the tool slept with someone else while we were still exclusively together and is a piece of shit. Final comments. Commenter 1. Last hurrah. What a odd and suspicious thing to say as a reason. A last hurrah before moving is a weekend with his girlfriend, not sleeping with some random person. Yeah, I highly doubt it was one time, especially because of this statement. Reply, right? When he said it was a last hurrah to close off his chapter in his state before he moved to where I'm from, makes no sense to me. What was the purpose of it? And then tries to back it up by saying it was only something physical and there was nothing emotional about it, lol. Commenter 2, absolutely dodged a bullet there. Breaking up sucks, but he sounds like a horrible dude and testament to you for being so strong. It might be a good time to get tested for other STIs, for peace of mind. Whilst herpes tests don't normally work unless you're having a flare-up, I would go get checked for other infections so you can have a completely fresh start away from that pile of crap. Reply, ironically I had a checkup about maybe 2 weeks ago from my gynecologist and I got tested for other stuff and I'm clean. I think for herpes, you have to specifically ask for that test, so I have to make an appointment sometime this week. Commenter 3, you should tell his best friend he has herpes, lol. Reply, funny thing is she knows. When he found out, he was freaking out about it and he was the first person to know and was his support system. Stories number 19. Future ex-fiancé is angry because I don't want to share my son's money. I, 35, met my fiancé 2 years ago. My son, 4, gets on well with him, and my ex-husband, my son's father, also likes him. Now to the point, 3 years ago I won a large sum of money in the lottery. Not millions, but enough for a nice life if I work normally and a good start for my son later. 75% went into a savings account that my son will have access to when he's 21. My fiancé always thought he had plenty of money and never let me correct him. I insisted on a prenuptial agreement and for that the finances were disclosed. Now the amount in my son's savings account is about 5 times more than anything my fiancé has. Completely enraged, he left the lawyer's office and ignored all calls for 2 days. For me, that was the end of the relationship, and I wrote to him saying that he could have the ring back. A week later, he was at the door. He would love me, but was in shock and now wanted details of where the money had come from. He also told me that he had a 5-year-old daughter from a previous relationship and that it would only be fair to split the money so that his daughter could also benefit from it. He sees it as justified, as I got the money through luck and not through performance. I gave him back the engagement ring and kicked him out of my apartment. Since then, I've been getting messages from various social media profiles and cell phone numbers that I would be the who is ruining his daughter's future. I only found out about his daughter that day. I never saw any photos or anything like that in the past years. Stories number 20. Aita for breaking up with my girlfriend over a note a pilot left for her. She confessed I saw all her texts with him. She allowed me to, hoping that maybe honesty will make me forgive her. She was begging him kinkly to FCK her while wearing his uniform and said her mouth will be his cockpit. We are not teenagers anymore, so maybe this is too much. I am 31 and she is 30. We were flying yesterday after a 4 days vacation, and while I was at the toilet in a coffee shop within the airport she was left a note by a pilot. She smiled at him. I am not controlling and insecure, or so I hope. I asked out of curiosity. And she told me it was her subway ticket that has fallen under the table. He picked it up for her. She indeed had her ticket on the table, so I didn't really think too much about it. But her cheeks were a bit flushed, and this morning I found the real note he left for her. It has fallen out her pockets. I was doing the laundry. It was crumbled and it was written by hand, drive you like a hammer on a bed of nails. Plus a wink emoji. I googled that and it was a reference to Alice Cooper song. I still haven't decided what to do. I will try to talk with her before ending this 6-year-old relationship. Sorry for the misleading title. I did not tell her anything yet. I wait for her to wake up and understand what happened. Update, she admitted. They know each other. I did ask to see her phone. As controlling as it is. She had chats with him. It wasn't anything sexual though. So she keeps denying and blaming me for her lying. That I am controlling. She flies often due to her job, so this is how they may. I believe his move was a power move actually, he wanted me to see him. He is better looking than me, fitter than me. Time to be depressed and move on I guess. Although she is now begging me to don't. That she only wants me. Update, Aita breaking up with my girlfriend over a note an airline pilot left for her. I will make a short summary. I am 31 and she is 30. While I was at the toilet in a coffee shop within the airport, a pilot left a note on our table. She smiled and read it. She lied it was a subway ticket. Later, I found the note to drive you like a hammer on a bed of nails. Plus a wink emoji. It was a reference to Alice Cooper song. Fast forward, she admitted to everything. I saw all her texts with him. She was begging him to FCK her while wearing his uniform and said her mouth will be his cockpit and that she will greet him on her knees with ABJ. It seems they met on her regular flights. She travels for work in the past 6 months. And she met this pilot while waiting for the plane to arrive. I threw her out. She has moved back with her parents in a small town as she has no money and her flyboy will not allow her to move in with him. I got checked for STIs and STDs and I am a bit worried. The latest update is that she texted me in the middle of the night that she might be pregnant. We weren't actively trying for a baby, but it was a plan for the near future. I am 99% sure she is lying. But I said fine, when you are sure we can make a paternity test, and she was offended. This is too much of a coincidence. But what if she is right? Stories number 21. My stepmom kissed my boyfriend on the mouth. My 22F stepmom 38F was drunk, but it's still crazy. My boyfriend is 26M. We were celebrating my boyfriend's birthday. My stepmom loves to drink and she's been drunk on many occasions. Usually she just becomes a louder and chattier version of herself. She's gotten angry drunk a few times too. Maybe what kind of drunk she becomes depends on her mood. I have never gotten drunk and I don't drink alcohol, so maybe I'm ignorant on its effects, but I find it hard to believe alcohol can bring this out. Please correct me if I'm misinformed. My boyfriend was sitting on a chair, but like reverse, so he had his arms crossed, resting them on the backrest, and his head was on his arms. We were watching a game on TV and the birthday part had kind of winded down. Most of the guests were gone. I was cleaning up. My stepmom was lounging outside and smoking. I missed some of the approach, but my boyfriend said she just came up to him and she was slurring her words and the TV was loud, so when she said something to him he didn't catch it, so he gestured for her to come closer and say it in his ear. She leaned in and told him, "You're so handsome." Movie star eyes. He said he just smiled back up at her and kinda laughed it off. He could tell she was very drunk. The rest of it I saw for myself. He returned his attention back to the TV. She reached out and touched his chin to get him to look back at her, and then she leaned in and my boyfriend told me she said happy birthday darling and kissed him on the cheek and then suddenly on the mouth. If that wasn't enough, she tried to kiss him again, on the mouth, but he pushed her face. She laughed and I was so shocked I was frozen. I don't even remember what I said, but I said something. I remember my boyfriend's friend said, "Did she just kiss you?" My stepmom just laughed it off and told us don't make a big deal out of it, it was an accident. She won't so much as apologize, but when she got sober she approached me privately to tell me not to tell my dad. Aita, if I tell my dad? Or is this really just not a big deal? I don't want to cause stress for my dad. But I think this is a little too big to file away as a drunk oopsie, her words, and just forget about it. Comments. Commenter 1. She completely crossed a line with you, your BF and your father. My father is going through a divorce with a woman who is similar, drinks a lot, and is inappropriate. I caught her kissing a family friend on the lips many years ago. Now they are divorcing. I shared it with my father. He was upset because he said he suspected for years she was having affairs. I wish I had called her out at the time. My father could have left her years ago. She is now testing you, and because of her behavior I'd put money on the fact that she will try to gaslight you to your dad moving forward. You run the risk of losing your relationship with him. I'd sit him down, with your BF and with her. Say that this is uncomfortable but you'd like to put some boundaries down. She is not to flirt, kiss or touch your BF ever again. If she puts it back to being drunk, then let her know she needs to get some help on that if she is going to cross boundaries every time she drinks and can't control herself. Commenter 2. This story sounds so fake, I'm sorry lol. Reply, I rather you think it's fake to be honest, because reading it back, I feel like I made my family seem like we're trash. I wish this didn't happen because I have never hated my stepmom, even if she drinks a lot. She made my dad a much happier person and now I don't know how to feel about her and I feel responsible for how my dad is going to react. Commenter 3. Good job not drinking. It is a very good personal decision. As for your stepmom, if you are close with your dad I would tell me. If you have a strained relationship I would maybe think twice. Either way she should not be around your boyfriend again until she apologizes. Reply, our relationship is strained but we love each other and I am going to take the advice here and talk to him today. He deserves to know and also my conscience can't take it anymore. I also think it's unfair to my boyfriend if this is not made out to be serious because he was the victim. Update. I got asked it a lot, so we'll say it here in case my comment didn't get noticed. My dad is 43 years old so the age difference between him and my stepmom, 38, isn't super drastic. People were wondering where he was during this, he was at work. I waited until my dad was home alone. I told him what happened. We have a rocky relationship because he has poor emotional regulation. That's why my mom left him. It's getting better between us though, since both of us have been making a conscious effort to communicate calmly, so this conversation was one that I was dreading with my dad but it went as well as it could. My dad's first response was still to be irritable and defensive. He focused his anger, unfairly, on my boyfriend initially. I had to make it very clear that this happened unknowingly and spontaneously as far as my boyfriend is concerned and that he was a victim in this. I also mentioned to my dad that my stepmom told me not to tell him. My dad was too angry for words and didn't say much to me. He left the house and came back later a bit more cooled off. He made me repeat the order of events again and exactly what was said. He then said the rest is between my stepmom and him and he doesn't want me to get involved. He requested me to not have my boyfriend over for a while, I can go over to his place instead. That works out since my boyfriend doesn't feel comfortable around my stepmom anymore. You guys speculated my stepmom has a drinking problem. She definitely does. I think it's gotten worse in the last few months. I don't know why though. I have never had any issues with my stepmom but we are not exactly close either. Comments. Commenter 1. Good for you telling your dad. I'm sure that was an uncomfortable conversation, but it needed to be had. Yes, your stepmother has a drinking problem. That's the root cause of this situation. I'd keep your boyfriend away to make sure this doesn't happen again. Reply, thank you guys for the push. I hope she gets the help she needs. But unfortunately our relationship will never be the same because it's been a day and she still hasn't apologized to me or my boyfriend yet. Commenter 2. She may never apologize. Sounds like she has not yet actually owned that she's a drunk, possibly alcoholic. Good for you, telling your dad, even though the energy between you isn't always good. Your boyfriend might have a bad dream or two about this. Drunk smoker forcing a mouth kiss on him. Ugh, ugh, ugh. Update. My dad and stepmom talked privately, and although I didn't get to be a part of those conversations, she did approach me afterward requesting to make an apology. She asked me if we, my boyfriend and I, could come over to hear her out, so we did. I could tell she took time beforehand to reflect and her apology was sincere. During the apology she explained that she was so shocked and appalled by what she had done she didn't want to acknowledge it or hear about it. She said she cannot explain to us why she did that because she herself doesn't know. She said she does not remember the event either and that has made it even more horrifying for her. She has a lot of self-loathing. She said she feels like she doesn't have any control anymore. That this was her rock bottom. She said her natural response when I brought it up was to try to reject it and push it away or try to make light of it because any mention of it made her sick with herself. At the same time, she understands that we didn't know how she was feeling or thinking or what was in her head, we could only judge her on her actions and behavior. When she minimized it, asked me to hide it from my dad, and basically her dismissal and avoidance in general, it just made everything worse. It was wrong and she does seem to recognize that. I really believe her, but also at this point, I think we're all just trying to move forward from it knowing she did something she can never take back, saying my BF. She knows that she broke everyone's trust and that it will take time to repair, and also that things may not ever truly recover or be the same and forgiveness may never happen for her. My dad genuinely believes what happened was the alcoholism and her deteriorated mental health. I didn't know this, but she has been seeing a psychiatrist on an outpatient basis and other incidents have happened with her, not infidelity or anything like what happened with my boyfriend, but instances where she has apparently embarrassed herself by doing things she would have never done otherwise. My dad refused to go into much details about that in front of myself and my boyfriend though. My dad doesn't want me involved and has made it clear this is not my problem, and not something I have to help with. He doesn't want that, which is a great relief. Lately, I think back a lot about how I missed so many signs, like we're not close but I didn't know the extent of this addiction. She drank a lot and smoked but I always thought it's just her personality. She always looked immaculate and put together and happy. She was so functional. Well, until she wasn't. I said in my last post but will say again that I only noticed her drinking as a problem in these last few months because she started getting disorganized and messy and not her usual. They are going to separate but my dad is going to continue to support her a bit with getting help. It's not that there's hope for reconciliation or anything, my dad said he wants to take it one step at a time. She needs to get sober first. Who she is right now is a person no one wants to be with, or to be around. She has agreed to get help and comply with treatment. She is not moving out of the house immediately because the plan is to go into a treatment program. Also, she drinks so much she is at risk for withdrawal, so she's moving into the guest room until she gets into treatment and then will not be returning home. I am back at home again too. I don't care if I mention but I live with my dad still, but I want to expedite moving out soon because the energy in this house just feels tainted. I also need to be away from her, unfortunately. My boyfriend is still uncomfortable about what happened. He has been brushing it off like it's fine and he's over it now, but I think it's something he's still processing. With us, it's become awkward. I feel like there's a huge distance suddenly between us. It's hard to describe. I think it's even harder for him to articulate it to me. But it sucks. Because, I don't care, I feel like he's going to break up with me soon. I'm trying my best. I'm also trying to give him space and be supportive and also let him have autonomy over this. I just feel so poorly equipped to fix things and I know in my heart that I actually can't fix this. It's a helpless feeling. I am sure that my family just grosses him out now and I feel so embarrassed about it and guilty and I feel gross myself. I wish I could wash everything away. I really need to move out. I wish this didn't happen. Anyway, so that hurts. Also, my biological mom remarried and she's a year older than my dad. Hope that clears up any misconception about their ages. I think some people misread, so when they did the math they kept using my stepmom's age to calculate when I was born. They were not exactly teen parents, but I honestly can't imagine having a kid at my age, so it's still crazy to me that they had me so young. Thank you again for reading and listening and pushing me to communicate. I think if my dad and I can survive this, we can probably communicate our way though anything, right? Wishful thinking. My only request is, if anyone has supports or tips for dealing with a family member who is addicted to alcohol, please share if you can. The brochures I picked up are so basic. Edit, I commented in detail here to clarify some things further. We have not forgiven her. Neither myself, my boyfriend, nor my dad. My dad even said he will support my boyfriend if he wants to press charges. She knows what she did is sexual assault. As I mentioned, my dad is requesting separation. She is going into treatment and will look for a place while in treatment using their supports for housing. I am trying to fast-track moving out and going no contact with her. I was supposed to move out with my boyfriend, we were touring apartments, and now it's different. All of these things take time unfortunately, and I'm new to navigating them and have other things going on too outside of this incident. I have intentionally left out how my boyfriend feels because it doesn't feel like my place to put words to it, especially since how we write things on Reddit can easily be misconstrued. I just shared a little bit that I felt comfortable sharing. My dad has attempted to speak to him privately, my boyfriend did not want that and it was respected. I have spoken to him privately. He also has good friends to lean on that can be there for him in a way I can't right now because I'm involved. He is the true victim of all this and I didn't mean to minimize that by not mentioning certain things. Sorry if it came across like that. I was just trying to be careful. Comments. Commenter 1. Honestly, I can't really blame your BF. It's great your stepmom apologized and now seeking help. However, that doesn't instantly change how uncomfortable she made your BF. I would try and reassure your BF. Say, I understand you probably still feel uncomfortable being around my stepmom. I want you to know I do recognize that and will follow your lead on how you wish to handle this situation. I will not pressure you or guilt trip you if you don't want to be around my stepmom anymore. Reply. Thank you, I understand him too, but it's one of those things you can't fix or make go away. It has to be processed by him, and if that means he needs to be away from me because of my proximity to my family, then that's totally valid. I love him and I'm gonna be so gutted, but I would also never hold that against him. Commenter 2. Your boyfriend is uncomfortable because of the fact that you and your father are using her alcohol addiction as an acceptable reason for your stepmother to assault him in front of other people, and you are continuing to live with her and support her. The fact that your father refuses to tell you about the other incidents where she embarrassed herself but says that they weren't cheating means absolutely nothing. This incident wasn't cheating. It was sexual assault. The only way that you and your boyfriend can stay together is if you show him that you support him. You have to leave your father's house. Reply. I just want to clarify that we are absolutely not excusing her behavior. She knows it was sexual assault and we have only ever framed it that way, and that's why my dad has requested separation from her. I'm trying to show my support to my boyfriend to the best of my ability, and I'm also respecting his space and giving him time because I know he can't magically be okay just because she apologized. Final update. I received a few messages about this, so I will just make a quick update. My boyfriend and I survived this ordeal. The question I got asked the most. He really just needed to be alone for a while to process and stop hearing about this, and I had a feeling he needed breathing room. That's why I moved back in with my dad, to give him space. During our time apart, we did check in with each other, and after some days, met up and everything just fell back into place. On the topic of place, it's not mine to attempt to put words to his feelings, but I can share this much with you guys. My boyfriend isn't interested in therapy, police report, or anything like that for this. He doesn't want to make it bigger than it is, his words, and just wants to move past it. We are moving in together next month as originally planned. My stepmom is still committed to going to rehab. I am NC with her and will remain that way for the foreseeable future, but I did get her a small gift for detox as an encouragement. She started out on a wait list and had to arrange to take time off her job, but she will be getting her bed the week after the 4th of July weekend. Clarification on the gift, I gave her a small totem as encouragement, a reminder to work towards sobriety, more specifically a painted rock LOL. That's it. Once in detox, my dad is going to move her out of the guest bedroom and she is going to work with resources at the treatment center to find a new place to live. They are divorcing. I don't know if he will be NC with her or not. Our extended family on my dad's side criticized my dad for abandoning her. They're very religious hypocrites, but my dad said she needs to experience her rock bottom, and getting sober should be something she accomplishes for herself, not something she does for him or anyone else. I went to an Al-Anon meeting just to experience it with an open mind. Although it felt valuable, that one meeting, ultimately I don't see myself wanting to go again and again. I did get advice from you guys that you have to try a few different ones sometimes to find the vibe that fits you, so I will state that here in case someone is interested. Comments. Commenter 1. I agree that Al-Anon is not very helpful. It's about dwelling on the loved one's addiction rather than extricating oneself from it. Best of luck to you, your boyfriend and your family. These things are hard. It looks like everyone is trying to do the right thing now. Reply, yes. Dwelling on the loved one's addiction rather than extricating oneself from it is exactly how I felt about it. You put it into the perfect words. Thank you so much. I feel like I aged a few years from this experience, but I'm trying to grow from it. I think my relationship with my dad got better, stronger, and with my boyfriend too. Commenter 2. When I got engaged to my husband back in the 90s, I went to an Al-Anon meeting with him to understand my future father-in-law's behaviors due to him being an alcoholic, a functional one, but still alcoholic. I only went to one. I got enough out of that one meeting to figure out how to protect myself and my relationship with my husband. I know that isn't always the case, and my husband, who grew up living with his father, went off and on until the day his father passed. I had the comfort to know that those meetings are always around, and if I ever felt the need to go back, I can. Please keep this in mind. They are there if you eventually need it. However, it sounds like after you move out, you won't have any connection to your father's son-to-be ex. It might be helpful for your dad, though. Once everything has settled. The divorce, the ex being in rehab, just so he knows the signs to look for if he ever chooses to have another partner in the future type of thing. I wish all well to you, your boyfriend, and your father. Reply, thank you for giving me your perspective to Al-Anon. You make a good point, and maybe it will be suitable for my dad. It does feel reassuring to know there is always a supportive place out there should one need it. My dad is a firefighter and I am sure he's familiar with Al-Anon, but I'll definitely share because he is the type of person who tends to bottle up his own emotions. Stories number 22. Wibta if I told my roommates that the others and I will not be signing the roommate release form. I, 22F, live in a rental house with 5 other roommates. This is I believe the 3rd year we have been here and our lease expires again towards the end of September. For context, of it wasn't obvious enough from the amount of roommates, none of us make a lot of money. My portion of rent is about half of my paycheck and there have been times where other roommates have struggled to get their full amount on rent paid. We are essentially a paycheck-to-paycheck household. 2 of our roommates T and M got married a few months ago, and about a couple weeks ago, they announced to the rest of us that they would be moving out into a townhouse in a couple months. It was obvious that they wanted it to be some big announcement where they get congratulations, but you could practically hear crickets when they said it. Myself and my 3 other roommates just kind of offhandedly congratulated them, but we were all obviously wondering what that would mean for rent. A few days later they tell us their move-out date is around mid-July, and that they've gone to our rental company to request a roommate release form for us to sign. My name is the first on the list for a signature, and without me signing it, nobody else can access the document. Thing is I don't want to sign it. The contract pretty much releases them from any liabilities like damages to the property, which I know in our first year M broke a sconce in our dining room and never replaced it, along with some other damages. We definitely aren't getting the deposit back. If they leave mid-July, that leaves 2 more months for the rest of us on lease to have to cover their portion. In total for those 2 months, we will be missing $1,600 from their portion. That's just the rent itself, no utilities. I may just be spiteful, but if you sign a lease for a specific amount of time with others, you should be required to either stay the full term, or pay out the lease for breaking it. It feels like such a trap for them to have signed to renew the lease with us last August, just to try to leave the rest of us hanging instead of sticking it out the last 2 months of the lease. My mother's name is on the lease as well. Without her name on it we would not have had enough income to get approved. She's the only reason we've been able to stay in this house for 3 years after my ex-boyfriend fucked me and my roommates over with our last housing situation. My mother also believes they should have to stick out the lease. Honestly I don't even care about the utilities payments if they aren't going to be here, I just want the rent covered. M and T have been harassing me to sign the papers and I don't want to be confrontational and tell them no, so I've been just kinda shoving them off. Today they left a sticky note on my door saying to sign the paper and I'm getting pretty fed up with the badgering like they weren't the ones who are trying to fuck us over. I want to tell them, I will not be signing the roommate release form, and even if you badger me to sign it until I cave, our roommates and my mother will not be signing it either. It is not fair to the rest of us for y'all to break lease early. Would I be the asshole? I understand that they are most likely doing it because they can't afford the townhouse and our current house at the same time, but that shouldn't be the rest of the 4 of us problem, and we should not have to increase our rent because they decided not to wait 2 more months for the lease to be up. That is a decision that they made and the rest of us staying should not be punished for that. After the lease is up the 4 of us staying will be looking for other homes because that house just won't be sustainable for us anymore without them anyway, so the rest of us will also have to work out our finances for moving after September, and that would be much easier if the rest of us don't get stuck with M and T's portion. Stories number 23. Aita for ending it with him over a 2-hour birthday party then evicting him. I, 32F, have been dating a guy, 35M, for 7 years. Just like a lot of relationships it's been a lot of ups and downs. Back in March my boyfriend's birthday was coming up on April 19th, my nephew also has a birthday in April on the 9th. So with their birthdays approaching I had told my boyfriend I had unfortunate news about his birthday. My sister planned my nephew's birthday party on the 19th from 11 to 1 p.m. My nephew was turning 7 and was having a party at a jump park in town, and me being the only aunt and loving my nephew, of course I'm going. When I told my boyfriend about the party being on his birthday he flipped out on me, started yelling and saying how selfish I am, that I ruined his birthday, then hung up on me and then started texting me things like F# plus you and your sister I'm going to make sure I ruin your birthday now, and 26 more messages just telling me how selfish I was and that I ruined his birthday plans, etc. The only plans we had were to do some shopping and go out to eat for his birthday, which we would still have time to do, so I really didn't see the big deal. I understand his disappointment, but the anger I'll never understand. I waited 3 days for an apology and he wouldn't even talk to me. I decided that was it, that's my final straw, I can't keep being disrespected like this, so I broke up with him. Now I'm typing this May 26th and we broke up March 24th and he still hasn't moved out. In April I made him still pay the bills because he had no money saved to move out, and now this month I paid all the bills by myself so he would have some money to move, and he is still here. I printed out eviction notice papers because I have explained at least once a week since the breakup that it's over, why I ended it, he needs to be saving money and moving out. I don't mean to be harsh, but I think 2 months is plenty of time to move out after speaking to me the way he did. The other day I left the eviction papers out so he would see them. They aren't even filed with the court yet because I honestly thought we could handle this like adults, but he saw them and is now beyond mad, heartbroken, and telling me I'm heartless, that I never loved him, I'm overreacting and treating him like a criminal. Aita, because my next step is to file the papers to actually evict him, but I feel bad. He isn't a bad person, just not someone I see forever with. Edit update: I am going to the courthouse as soon as I get off work in about an hour. My best friend is going to stay with me until he moves out. I also have someone coming to change the locks once he is gone. I own the house and that's why I haven't left. He hasn't paid rent in months, so in my state I'm pretty sure I can file a 10-day eviction notice, so that is my plan today. I'll update when I have more information. I also wanted to thank you all for the words of encouragement, it truly means a lot. Also, for everyone asking, I am in therapy and have been since September of last year. I have tons of support from family and friends as well. Stories number 24. Aita, if I don't change the name of my unborn baby after my sister gave her baby the same name. Update for clarification: she did not steal the name, we just happened to choose the same name. It is my first pregnancy and I announced the name at the same time of my pregnancy announcement, 3 months. She was due with a baby boy 5 months before mine. She did not announce the name and kept it secret, as she did with her 3 other children. I found out she chose the same name when I saw the look on her face when I announced it to her. Context: I found out I was pregnant and due in July 2025. My sister gave birth to her baby in February 2025. When I announced my pregnancy to her back in December 2024, I also announced the gender and the name. I found out then she had chosen the same name for her baby boy. She has had 3 other children for which she never announced the name. Since then, she has been pressuring me to change the name because it causes her panic attack and anxiety. She says 2 cousins born 5 months apart with the same name is going to create an unnecessary rivalry. My husband and I had chosen this name prior to conception and announced it to everyone, family and friends, without knowing her intentions. I am now 8 months pregnant and I have been calling my baby by this name since the beginning. I don't want to change the name. Neither my husband. For context, her baby was born with some kidney issues and had to have surgery at 10 weeks old, so she has been especially sensitive. Personally, I feel for her, but I don't see this name thing as a major issue and I don't want to change the name of my baby because she has anxiety over this. Am I the asshole? Stories number 25. AIO for skipped my sister wedding because she was charging admission. I could use some outside perspective on a family mess that's been really bothering me. My older sister is getting married soon. I was honestly super excited at first. I love weddings, and she seemed really happy. But things got kind of weird once she started planning everything. Instead of just inviting people to celebrate, she and her fiancé decided that every family member needed to pay to attend. Not like buying your own dress or travel, which I'd expect, but actually pitching in for the wedding expenses, things like the catering, flowers, decor, and whatever else they've got planned at this fancy hotel venue. They're calling it a shared celebration and acting like it's normal for guests to help fund it. Her fiancé's family is on board and paying their share, so I guess it's just expected that we do the same. When she told me, I was kind of shocked. I brought up how uncomfortable it made me and how it felt less like a wedding and more like buying a ticket to a private party. I also gently suggested maybe going with a less expensive wedding if money was that tight, but she completely shut me down. She got super defensive, said I wasn't being supportive, and we ended up yelling at each other. She even blocked me for a bit after that. Eventually, I got a wedding invitation, but inside was a note saying that unless I had contributed, I shouldn't come. At that point, I just felt done. I love my sister, but it felt really wrong to be asked to pay hundreds if not up to $1,000 just to be there, especially when I wasn't even asked to be a bridesmaid or anything. Plus, she's not covering hotel rooms, and it's in a super pricey location. I'm still in school, I work part-time, and I just don't have that kind of money to spare. My parents think I should just pay it, show up, and keep the peace, but honestly, I don't feel like being guilted into spending that kind of money just to prove I care about my sister. So yeah, I didn't go. And now things are tense. Stories number 26. I brought the company to a standstill to make a point. I worked in the engineering department of a smaller manufacturing company, around 70 to 80 employees. My responsibility among other things was to handle any design changes, edit part and assembly drawings, bills of materials, etc. Previously this was all handled by putting together a packet of actual paper documents that had to be shuffled from engineering to manufacturing, sometimes ping-ponging back and forth if we were doing something complicated that required input from various people within those departments. Eventually the company started to implement a software-driven procedure that was supposed to eliminate the stacks of paper that would sometimes get lost on someone's desk. The problem was that our bare-bones staff didn't really have time to learn all of the ins and outs of the software, and refine the process to be truly efficient. Basically it was left so that if an item was entered into an engineering change order, it was locked down so that no one could build one, but also a customer couldn't even order one, or any machine that this item happened to be a component of until the change process was completed. Sometimes this could take weeks. I tried explaining several times that if we ever had to work on some item that is used in several of our products, this would bring everything to a screeching halt. My manager at the time understood this but could never get all of the people who needed to work on the software procedure to sit down and finalize everything. One day I was tasked with changing the design of a hardware component that was used in every machine we built. I told my manager that as soon as I started the process, no one in sales would be able to enter an order for any customers until the process would be completed. He shrugged and said do it, knowing that I was right. Within 30 minutes of getting started, a salesman came to my desk asking why he couldn't enter an order. I explained what was happening. He left, and soon after the VP of the company was at my desk asking what needed to be done. So I told him he needed to corral everyone, needed to hash out how the software was supposed to work properly instead of the half-ass just lock everything down deal they left off with. He immediately called in whoever was on that list. It took a few days as I recall, and the component in question was expedited to be approved within the week. To this day I use this story in interviews whenever I'm asked one of those questions, like give me an instance where you had to solve a major problem in the workplace. Stories number 27. AIO husband wants new truck, I want debt paid off first. For backstory, my husband wants a new vehicle. It'll end up being over $800 a month, with a trade-in. The last new, to him, vehicle he got about 8 years ago now. It just truly sits in the garage because right now, he drives a company truck for work. He's been wanting a new vehicle for a while. Nothing truly wrong with what he has now, he's wanting to trade it in and get about $6,000 for it. Am I overreacting by wanting to pay off the credit card debt he has first before he dives into another huge bill? Me, put wrong interest rate, it's $831 month. Husband, okay what 30 more bucks? Me, LOL. Husband, I'm willing to spend $2,000 monthly for house and cars. Me, what you'd have for lunch? Husband, panda. Me, I should have guessed. Me, I think we should pay your credit off more before buying a truck. An extra a month, you'll never pay those cards off. I don't want to end up like my sister. I can help you with them too if you nend. Me, but we can't have them snowball anymore. Me, and if we can throw $800 at a truck a month, we can pay the cards off before the end of summer. Me, and we'll get a better interest rate. Husband, I don't want to miss out on a good deal on a truck plus with everything else we have to pay for right now, I feel like it's never gonna happen and I'm starting to get unmotivated. Husband, if that's the case, help me get the truck and then we'll pay whatever extra we have towards my credit cards. Me, how and why would we have extra money? Husband, if I can swing this I'll get a deal. Husband, because I make a minimum of $4,000 a month. Me, let's talk about it when you get home. Husband, bills are $2,000. Husband, I need a yes I got you baby. Husband, not a let's talk. Husband, damn. Husband, I really need to stay motivated. So I don't quit this job lol. Me, when you're married, debt is combined. I think we should pay off the credit cards first. Me, if you feel like you need to quit, and need a truck for motivation. Me, you make $4,000 a month and you've been making that for almost over a year now. We can pay those cards off quickly. ESP if you say you have extra money. Me, we have to see eye for eye here. Me, why do you think you'll be able to get such a good deal on this truck? Husband, okay shut up. Husband, for real. Husband, bye. Me, lol ick why you think you can talk to me however you want and get what you want from me. Me, bye. Husband, I really don't need you. I can get what I want on my own. From now on I'll make my own decisions and you do you. Me, sounds like a great marriage. Me, you telling me to shut up and flicking me off. I'm literally your wife. Not your fucking girlfriend. Me, you have zero respect for me and it shows greatly. Additional details. He makes $79,000 a year salaried, it's around $4,000 after taxes, 401k, etc. No we don't have any kids. He truly doesn't talk to me like this, you should have seen my face when I got the text, I was very thrown off. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, Nor. He's acting like a petulant child. And the disrespect towards you when he isn't getting what he wants is appalling. But what happens now? Is he getting a truck, anyway? And he'll keep accumulating debt. What happens to you, and the debt you'll have to assume because you're married? He can literally go get this truck without you, not pay his debt off, but what about you? I'm genuinely curious how you can protect yourself in this situation. Also, he sucks so much. I hope he has something phenomenal to offer you, and this conversation is just a bad day. Otherwise this marriage is a big red flag. Reply, exactly, now what? LOL, he stopped responding. So I guess we will have to wait and see when he gets home from work. Commenter 2, how old is he? The only way he can find motivation to work is buying a truck to the point that if he doesn't get it now he'll quit. An $800 car payment when income is $4,000 a month is an insane percent of monthly income going to a vehicle. I'm all for spending money, but he's gotta get out of short-term thinking. Pay off the debt, save money for a while, and then he can buy a nicer truck and put more down up front so you don't get saddled up with a high payment. You're not being an asshole at all, this is your financial future as well. You have every right to be pissed. He's acting about the same way my 4-year-old does when she wants ice cream every night. Reply, I have tried to tell him this so many times. Ick, how else to word it, he needs to hear it from someone else I guess. Commenter 3, nor. If he comes home with that truck, you really need to consider seeing a divorce attorney. Total disrespect, especially when it involves your financial profile too. Reply, if he comes home with the truck it will be more than divorce, and I can promise all of Reddit that. Stay tuned. Can OOP's husband afford the truck without her? Does she need to co-sign? Reply, can he afford? Yes. But I have a much better credit score, and my bank gives better interest rates. So does he need me? No. But he should want me. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for everyone going to say I shouldn't co-sign or whatever. But we have had 2 loans, in the past, that he solely paid for, but that were in both of our names. But I was only on for a better interest rate. And he never once missed a payment. I'm not concerned about that. Can OOP pay off her husband's debt? Reply, I can easily pay his credit cards off, in 1 month. The money isn't the issue, it's just the matter of the fact of making the right decision. Update, I'm not sure the best way to post this for everyone to see, so I'm going to make a comment here and then also a separate post. Let me start off with, we've been together for 10 years, I can't divorce him over this. Yes, it was out of line, but it was also out of character for him. No, he did not come home with a truck. He apologized for what he said he was tired of going back and forth and he was driving. No, I'm not defending what he said. I made it very clear that was not okay and there won't be a second time for it. I handed him my phone with an auto loan calculator pulled up and told him to plug in some numbers, play around with it and see what we can afford. AKA get the monthly payment down. BC no way. He agreed he can't afford a truck that expensive right now, we don't want to. He agreed to pay off the small amount he owes on the cards. It's literally less than $2,500 loudly crying face. He agreed to a much more affordable, not so much to me, I'm a cheapskate, price range to look in at a later date, once all the ducks are in a row. Sorry this didn't have a cooler ending to read. TLDR, no truck for a while, debt first. Then we will find a nicer truck, in our price range. A better price range. Additional comment. Also I just wanted to give a huge thank you to everyone. I really wasn't expecting everyone to be on my side and was truly coming for a different perspective. Reading everyone's comments made me even more confident in standing my ground in this issue. Commenter, did you ever say how much the truck costs? You said the monthly payment, but the actual important number is what the truck actually costs. Reply, $50K was the one he wanted. Stories number 28. Aita, my parents are forcing me to pay for my brother's grad school using money they never told me about. I've, 30F, been financially independent since graduating college. I worked practically full-time while studying, recently paid off my student loans on my own, and just started saving to buy a home. I didn't apply to grad school because I couldn't afford it, and my parents made it pretty clear growing up that we needed to stand on our own after high school. My brother, 22M, is honestly a genius. He worked really hard in school, got a full academic ride to a great state school, and graduated with honors. I'm so proud of him. The problem now is he recently got into an extremely prestigious grad program that would open a lot of doors for him. He was hoping for scholarships or a paid internship to cover most of it, but it's not enough. Now he's facing tuition and housing costs in one of the most expensive cities in the country. My parents asked if I could help out and suggested I contribute around $15,000 to get him through the first year. They'd match it, and he'd take loans for the rest. I said no. I've been working for over a decade on my own goals, and I'm just now starting to save for a house. I don't feel comfortable putting that on hold, especially when I had to turn down opportunities because there was no help available to me. During the conversation, my mom got frustrated and said they'd be using my other fund to help him instead. I asked what she meant, and she said they had set aside about $25,000 for me back when I was in college, meant to be used for a future wedding. I was completely blindsided. I had no idea this fund existed. I asked why I wasn't told about it when I was considering grad school, or now while I'm saving for a home. She said it was always intended for a wedding, not school or property, and since I haven't needed it, I'm not engaged or in a relationship, they decided to give it to my brother because he has a more immediate need. I'm not going to lie, I was pissed. I never got a chance to make a case for how I could have used that money, and now it's just being handed over to someone else. I told them I felt hurt and left out. My mom said I was being unfair, and that the money was never promised, and if I didn't want it for a wedding, then it made sense to use it for something meaningful. My brother told me he didn't know about the wedding fund either, and he understands why I'd be upset, but said he didn't ask for it. He just wants to go to school and thought we were all trying to support each other. I know my brother worked hard and isn't trying to take anything from me. But I can't help feeling like my parents are punishing me for being practical. Update, Aita my parents are forcing me to pay for my brother's grad school using money they never told me about. Thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. I really appreciated the insight, especially from those who helped me understand why this hit such a nerve. Just to clarify, I have no intention of cutting my parents out over this. They let me live at home rent-free during college, gave me a lot of academic support growing up. I wasn't a naturally strong student like my brother, and have always been loving in most other ways. This situation hurt, but it doesn't erase everything they've done for me. Mother's Day was tense. As soon as I arrived, my mom said, "I don't want another fight to ruin today," when I tried to bring up the money again. I left after brunch. We finally talked this past weekend. My brother said he hadn't known about the wedding fund until I brought it up and felt awful it was causing tension. He's rethinking grad school now, saying it might be smarter to get work experience first. He applied to MBA programs and jobs while finishing undergrad, graduated early in December, and got into the program he planned to attend. Now he's planning to defer and focus on the job search instead. He also told me our parents had said I might help with the cost. He'd planned to pay me back but realized he wouldn't earn anything for a few years and would still set me back. That's part of why he reconsidered. My mom wasn't happy. She said she didn't want him giving up an amazing opportunity just because I was being bitter. That really stung. I told her I wasn't bitter, I was blindsided. I found out about the money during a conversation where I was being asked to hand over $15,000 for someone else's future. That was painful, especially since I'd turned down opportunities because no help was available. I just wish I'd known. That's when my dad stepped in. After I was born, he started saving for what he imagined as my dream wedding. It was sentimental to him. When my brother was born, they saved a similar amount for his wedding or family expenses. Neither of us knew these funds existed. They only considered using his for school when other aid fell short. After I said no, they decided to use both funds to help him and figured they'd replenish mine later. I get why it made sense to them, but it still hurt. Many commenters pointed out the situation was sexist, even if unintentionally. It's hard not to feel like I was expected to get married while my brother was expected to succeed. I don't think that's what they meant, but that's how it felt. To their credit, they listened. My dad apologized for not telling me sooner. My mom didn't fully agree, but I think she heard me. My brother asked if I'd help with his resume and interview prep, and I said yes. I told him I know this isn't his fault. He's worked hard and deserves what he's earned. I just needed to feel like my path mattered too. We're not back to 100%, but it feels better. I'm glad we talked. Stories number 29. My husband told me he settled for me. I was a single mom of 2 when I met my husband. My husband is 9 years older than me. I was 33 when we got married. I'm 41 now. My kids are grown and out of the house now too. My husband got drunk and revealed terrible things that I wish I just didn't know. He married me because he didn't want to die alone. He only had 2 relationships, 3 total if you include me. He's not attracted to women that look like me. He said I'm overweight and he was very underwhelmed by my appearance, but he learned to love me on the inside because even though I'm ugly on outside, I'm so beautiful on the inside, and that's what makes me different from the other girls. And the way he said that to me, he made it sound so genuine, like he was saying something so sweet and romantic to me, but it's like, dude, you don't realize you just called your wife ugly. Like, wow, what? I cried so much that night. He did apologize so much since that happened, but I can't get out of my head that my husband thinks he's too good for me. He also said in no world he thought he would ever marry a single mom and basically be a cuck and be a dad to someone else's kids. But he said he didn't want to die alone and I was his only option, so he took on my baggage. I think my husband thinks he deserves better because he's not overweight and he's more financially stable than most guys. I feel like that he thinks he deserves a hot 22-year-old girl with no kids. I don't know honestly. But it does hurt me that he thinks I'm ugly and he just married me because he didn't want to die alone. I've had people tell me to get over it and everyone settles, but I have a hard time believing that every married couple settles. Stories number 30. Wibta for not making an exception for my dying grandma by not allowing my brother and Asael to come to my house for a special occasion after I banned them forever. I have not had any sort of relationship with my former brother Dan and his wife Karen for over 6 years. I've seen them one time at a funeral and we stayed away from each other. Dan is the former golden child and his wife is a piece of shit just like he is. No one likes her. Our parents used to kiss her ass because of Dan and their grandchild. Now to the point of my post. I bought my grandparents' property at the end of 2017 when they moved to an assisted living community. I paid market rate and no family discount. My property, even when my grands owned it, was the go-to place for family events and parties. That will be important later. Against my better judgment and pressure and nagging from my mom, I allowed Karen to use my place as a content house. She was a content creator on YT. She did lifestyle content with her friends. This was supposed to be for one day only. It was pitched to me as Karen and her friends trying to grow their channels and attract sponsorships. I was told renting a place like mine was not in their budget. I made it very clear I expected my property to be returned in the same condition as I left it and gave Karen the code to my garage. I was told there would only be 6 people there max at any given time. I did take some precautions by locking up my bedroom and office. Never ignore that gut feeling. Back then the only camera I had was a Ring doorbell. My neighbor called me and asked if he did something to upset me. I did not understand at all. He was surprised I was having a party and he was not invited. I told him I was not having a party. He said the house was lit up and there was music blasting and 4 cars in my yard. He found it odd none of the cars were not in my driveway. I got the most horrible feeling. I was spending the weekend with my then GF, which they were aware of. All these people ended up parking on the curtilage instead of the driveway or the street so they would not show up on the Ring camera. I felt like I walked into a tsunami. It's like my house was raided. Anything that could be thrown on the ground was just for the hell of it. There were strangers smoking in my house and eating my fucking food. Furniture tossed and throw up all over the place. Someone even broke the dishwasher door by sitting on it. There was broken glass all over the pool area. Anyone who owns a pool knows what that means. The bird feeder did not even survive. I lost my mind. The house had just been renovated. I started screaming that everyone better get the fuck out of my house once I cut the music. I called the police and my house emptied. I called my parents and told them to come and get their 2 favorite C*** out of my house. They were so drunk they sat on my couch with no cushions and throw up, telling me to calm down and they would come the next day and clean up. They could barely speak a complete sentence, they were so wasted. My parents made this out to be a family dispute with the police. Dad said he would pay for all the damage and not go the insurance route, which would open up a world of hurt for Dan and Karen. As a side note, I found out later on if my insurance company found out my house was being used for commercial purposes, even with no exchange of money, I would not have been covered. I know better. Don't ever let anyone use your house to create content, even your mother, without proper insurance. My mom told me for her sake and my nephew's sake not to pursue charges. I told her fuck you and your sake bullshit. I screamed at my parents about what a fuck up they raised. Yes, I cussed them out. I was sick of them making excuses for Dan and Karen. Always pressuring my sister and I to eat shit and keep the peace. Every grievance I ever had against them came out over the following weeks. I went and told the entire family what Dan and Karen did to my property, and they are still pariahs even after 6 years. The family on both sides told my parents until they are allowed at my house they don't want Karen and Dan at theirs. They have not been invited to a family event since, and my parents see them privately. My parents deservedly caught so much hell and were blamed that Dan turned out the way he did. My dad's side of the family were especially appalled the way the house was damaged. Even though I technically own it, they still look at it as my grandparents. My parents paid for everything that was damaged, and I added some high-ticket items and a complete landscape renovation that I previously delayed to compensate for my pain and suffering. Dad told me anything that was paid would come out of Dawn's future inheritance. Don't think for one second I did not take advantage of that. My sister got compensated for their parenting failures. They were trying to prevent us from going no contact and smoothing things over with the family by bribing us. They explained it as holding Dan accountable and having consequences. I graciously let them and went no contact once my projects were done. After my gramps died, we started talking again. I have such strong boundaries. I told them if they defended Dan or try and force a reconciliation in any way, shape or form, it was back to no contact. They don't even mention his name. We have not talked about him in years. Now to the present. My nana is very sick, and if the doctors are right, she won't be with us for much longer. This estrangement in our family has been very hard on her. She has respected my wishes for no contact. She cut off Dan for a couple of years. She was so upset about me and the damage to the house. She asked me to come and visit her. She said she wants to have a July 4th barbecue and wants to take a family picture like old times by the lake. She wants to include Dan and his son. She asked me to think about it. When my house was defiled, it was one of the worst days of my life. I was a wreck for days. I would call my parents and scream at them when I found something else wrong and demand they drop whatever they were doing and come and look at it and have it fixed. I then would remind them of what a worthless entitled fuck-up they raised. I did it so much I got sick of hearing my own rants. I broke up with my then GF because she said I needed to forgive my brother after I told her to never bring that topic up ever. I took a stress leave from my job so I could concentrate on repairing the house. Even writing about this and what transpired still pisses me off. I swore they would never step foot on my property again. My sister told me this is a big ask. Denying my dying grandma her final wish does not sit well with me. Whipped for saying no. Stories number 31. Am I overreacting after my teacher, 55M, confessed his love to me, 18F? This all still feels unreal, but here we go. Since I was 15 I have been taking private classes to learn how to play bass. I'm not rich but no other option here, lol. Since I've been playing for so long I've started really looking up to my teacher, let's call him Mark. He is an incredible bass player and has so much experience past him. A year after I started I got paired with a girl same age and experience as me so we could get lessons longer for cheaper. So all of our classes are just the three of us. I put a lot of effort in my bass playing so would always get top marks over the other students that learn from him. He is a very professional private person who prefers teaching over casually talking, so it was always nice to get a compliment about my playing from him. And that was it for those 2 years, until 2 days ago, one day after my weekly class, I suddenly got a text from Mark, apologizing for being unfocused during the class, which I thought nothing of given he talked about something happening at his work and that he had to stand his ground. So I thought, oh, it must be related to that. Then an hour later he starts saying, will you please don't say anything OP, I'm watching you. And shouldn't. I had a very hard time yesterday. Really have to watch out for my work. It won't happen again, yours sincerely, Mark. I still didn't associate that with the absolute bombshell he threw at me next, so I responded with a simple okay. The next message read, thank you, I have to be careful, I am in love with you and I have to repress that. In case I need to, I'll give you a base of mine to shut up about it, okay? As you could imagine, I did not see this coming in the slightest. I was shocked and it still feels very surreal, so I didn't respond. The next day I saw that he had deleted the message, and he had sent me a new one. OP, thank you. Hopefully you're not too angry with me. But I felt it was important to communicate this to you so you would know that I have it under control and suppress that. Reason is above the emotions with a Mason. Hopefully I will see you in class. Happy vacation, Mark. I told my parents and they are going to contact the school. He will probably lose his job, and he teaches in a lot of schools, so part of me feels guilty. Since he didn't really do anything illegal, having a crush on someone isn't illegal. I have only been 18 for only roughly 4 months, he also has a wife and a daughter who is younger than me, about 16 years old-ish. I really don't know what to do in this situation. I really looked up to him, but I don't know if I still want to attend classes. Additional information. What I also wanted to add, but maybe I'm reading into it too much, is that the last song he assigned to me as homework to work on was a love song. So In Love With You by Duke. It's weird timing and maybe I'm reading into that too much, but yeah. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, what he said to you may not be technically legal, but he's a shitty human being to do that to his family, and it's at least wildly inappropriate and unprofessional, not a bit, a lot. As it's not clear when he had this crush, it's a fine line of pedophilia. Insane given his daughter is just a couple years younger. You should definitely not continue classes and you and your parents should definitely inform the school. And he should be fired. He should not be working with kids if he can have a crush on a girl he's been teaching since she was 16, especially at his age. What a disgusting man to look at a student, and one he's been teaching since she was 16, in a lustful way. Him saying he's in love is an insane attempt at grooming given the power dynamics. Reply, right? Like the more it sinks in, the more I'm like afraid disgusted. In a way to think how he maybe has seen me before I was 18, but my parents are mailing the school tomorrow, so there's that. Commenter 2, yeah, if he had it that under control, he'd have kept it to himself. Face vomiting, he was definitely testing the waters to see how you'd react. Commenter 3, nor at all, that's not okay. He's still an instructor, and has been when you were a minor, to you and others, and is crossing serious boundaries. Find a new instructor ASAP and don't feel guilty. You could potentially be saving other kids. There's no telling what he's been up to. Update. My post got bigger than I thought it would, so I thought I'd post an update. Thanks everyone for the kind words and making me feel less guilty about it. It's also beginning to sink in more now, which sucks obviously. It's hard to focus especially since I used to really look up to the guy, he was so cool in my eyes. After I told my parents he sent me another text saying, "Would you please not say anything to the management, because I would get my discharge." Borderline behavior with a student in class is instant dismissal and that will go on my record. Can you let me know something please or will you shut up? When you inform the board and parents, I would have liked to know. Then I can resign myself. I assume he got panicked because I didn't reply to the last messages, I just left him on read. Later he also deleted that message, I assume it's because he is making me feel guilty for him. You can't get that on your record here, since he didn't do anything illegal. The next morning he follows it up with, "OP, I talked to my wife about it last night after the concert in X, the thought of watching you during bass guitar lessons. I teach many girls, teenagers and adult ladies, but what happened on Thursday was pedagogically irresponsible and strongly leaned towards borderline behavior. With other students I never have that. I am very rational and work according to reason. I had that under control but it should not happen again. I told her that nothing happened and the classroom was open etc. I will write to the management myself and put you, and your parents in CC and ask for my resignation. Then I will do what is right and avoid stupidity. A new bass teacher is best for school. Then I can put that out of my mind too. Now I walk around feeling guilty. This evening after the concert in the music school of X I will draft my letter and put you in CC. Can you forward me your parents' email address? Respectfully, Mark." And then when I didn't respond to that as well he asked again for the mail address of my parents, he also mailed me to ask me, which I also didn't reply to. Later that day I met up with the girl who I have my classes with, we started talking about like previous lessons and about how weird this all is, like as I've said before, extremely unexpected. We also noticed he does more favors for me than for her, but I always just thought he was a guy very passionate about bass guitar and a good teacher who cares about his students. Like helping me pick out a new bass guitar, recommending me cables, taking my bass to the store himself when it broke, and delivering it to my house. He didn't do that for the other girl, he would just say she has to stop by the shop sometime. He also once brought me home after a class because it was late and dark outside, which looking back, I can't help but just wonder, oh was he just kind or did he have weird intentions all this time? He was always very adamant about being professional, always asking consent to move my fingers on my bass and stuff, so I just like wonder, does he do that to remind himself? Or yeah, it's hard to not look back and think about when this started. Also the fact that the last song he assigned to me was a love song. Duke, so in love with you, don't get me wrong, it's a catchy song, but who knows, is it unfortunate timing or like a hint? I feel weird about it all, like everything turned sour and I doubt he'll touch my bass guitar anytime soon. My mom after a moment of trying hard got in contact with the school, since she tried on Sunday, usually they don't really pick up, and the school director got with her on the phone after hearing it was extremely urgent. He was very understanding and also very shaken up about it, also not expecting this to happen in the slightest. You could hear in his voice that he didn't feel good because of it. Anyway, my mom also sent a mail, with all the proof, the texts he deleted as well and stuff. She put the teacher in CC and at the end of the mail put that he should never contact us again or reply to the mail. Thank you, Mom. Mark put in his resignation and will still be a teacher until the spring break, so the transition period between him and the new teacher for the other 7 students. So unfortunately at the moment my bass journey with the school ends here. The director did offer to quickly try find a new teacher for me, but it's fine, I don't think I obviously want to play at the moment. Slight happy ending. I guess, I mean, it does leave a very bitter taste in my mouth. I feel very betrayed and a bit disgusted and disgusting myself in way, I can't stop thinking about it and I feel so uncomfortable. Just the thought of in what way he was looking at me and for how long. But thank you guys for all the kind messages, it helped me feel a bit better. Update 6 hours or so later for the comments. No, I am not someone who wrote this because it's my fetish. That is such an odd thing to say. I don't think some people realize how often grooming etc. and that stuff actually happen. Spoiler alert, a whole fucking lot. Touch some grass, hope this helps. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, well done op, you did nothing wrong. He is the creep and predator here. Not you. Glad your mom handled that well. I do wonder if there is any way the school can inform other schools. Because let's face it, he is indeed a predator. His other students are not safe in his care. Reply, not sure but the school director is really a great guy, had music classes from him when I was like 11 to 13 hectares and I do fully trust he has it under control. OOP and her parents should look into suing the school for what took place. Reply, nah, the school is great, they hire like people from the outside so he isn't actually like tied to a school or something. I don't want to ruin the reputation of the entire school just because something that they couldn't know of happened. I've been to the school before bass, for violin and learning to read music. Great people, just not my bass teacher I guess lol. Commenter 2, Please don't give up base. I know this was a really hard situation and obviously whatever you decide is justified. It just breaks my heart that a creep like that ruined your experience for something as beautiful and fulfilling as learning music. Reply, no worries. I'm just going to take a break until my mind can put this situation behind me. I still love playing bass and am in a band. OOP clarifies on her first language and why the teacher had her number. Reply, I know maybe the story sounds off but English isn't my first language haha. I also asked my BF to help me write it and the texts are directly translated from my mother language to English. I'm also still trying to wrap my head around it all so that's why it might be a bit off. As for my number, everyone of the music school is basically like a teacher from the outside that come to the location, the school, to teach there. He had my phone number for if I couldn't make it to the lessons and whatnot, or if I'd be late and stuff. Commenter 3, this must not be in the States. If so, he would be put on immediate suspension while under investigation, and most likely terminated immediately. Grooming 100%. Be well, and don't let this creep deter you from your musical talents. Take a break if you need it. Heal, but don't give up, smiley face. Godspeed. Reply, yeep I'm from Europe, but Thai. I won't give up because of him. Stories number 32. Medical facility, 3x, widespread panic, leading to one of the worst days in our facilities, because I followed the new policy. I used to work at a medical facility where I was the sole approver of morning staff who worked at 6:30 a.m. As a staffer, I balanced the morning staff with the amount of expected care needed for patients in the morning. I worked in the ghetto so we always overstaffed and sent people home if they weren't needed. The basic mindset was, it was better to have the staff and not need them and send them home than not have the staff and struggle to find people to come into work. Eventually our facilities were bought out, and all that changed. Exact staffed based on the exact need. And another new rule, we had a rule that said, no one would be approved without all documentation sent over prior. We used to just get the docs while they were working and verified it. It is loosey-goosey, but it worked. Did eventually blow up in their faces though. Contract-wise, anyone that was not given proper notification of cancellation by 5 a.m. was to be paid at least 2, or 4 I can't remembers, hours of pay so staffing needed to be finalized by 5 a.m. I wasn't against the rule. I honestly make sense, but the issue is reality. No one is up between midnight, 5 a.m. that's going to be at work at 6:30 a.m. Humans tend to sleep before a day of work. Staffing needs to be finalized by 5 a.m. Okay. Next morning, I'm calling people from midnight to 5 a.m. I got people cursing me out for waking them up if they answered, most didn't. Next morning, staff was short 20 plus people. Keep in mind, my job is also to balance staff to account for those who call off or can't make it for any reason. It was facility-wide panic. I'm talking they called the new CEO, every department managers, all floor manager staff emergency meeting level of why how this happened. Keep in mind, medical facility, this could legitimately result in people receiving less care, legitimately people could die as they were grossly understaffed, and as a new investment facility investors could pull out because of bad press, imaging finding out a hospital is understaffing to save money on the new. They called to bring me in an angry meeting with the new CEO to place the blame on my incompetence. I knew I was in the right, as I followed all documented policies and literally following all procedures to the best of their expected interpretation. I explained the policy. I was unable to approve anyone to work unless they sent the paperwork over before staffing was finalized. No one sent it over, so policy required them be cancelled that day. New policy was no pre-approvals. None of them sent it over by 5 a.m. so I cancelled them all. And every time they attempted to make, "Do you understand the risk you put us in?" I would ask, so should I ignore the policy and just approve them anyway? I would just need that documented. After the meeting I went home like normal. The thing is, the staff they were looking for isn't just waiting for our facility to call them, they will find other employment if we don't give them work for today. So it was a very long day for them. Next day, I was brought into another meeting. New policy, pre-approval is okay. Once they do come in and bring in their documentation, they can be approved. This slows down the process, as they all would bring it with them. Fine by me, I usually go home by that time, so it's the morning staff's problem. Keep in mind, I explained the potential outcome disaster to my manager, who basically had no idea how midnight staffing worked, but the last email they sent me said specifically I needed to get all documentation before anyone was approved for staffing. Works for me. Stories number 33. I need an answer right now. This might not be the biggest story in this sub, but I still reminisce fondly of it. So a couple of years ago I took over a restaurant in the center of the capital city of our country with a couple of friends. We are 3 associates and 1 chef cook. This restaurant was mainly a tourist trap for the past decennia and was also known to cater to big groups from either companies, business dinners, and tourist agencies where they would just serve some decent slop in an historical setting for a fixed menu price. Our concept was to bring this establishment back to the locals, the neighborhood, and lovers of traditional food and drinks. So we tried a soft opening and limit ourselves to 30 customers per evening, but the previous owner hadn't even communicated towards his customers that the restaurant would be taken over, nor had he closed the online reservation system, to which we didn't have any access, so we got constantly flooded with requests for big groups, between 20 to even 50 persons, and here our story begins. As we just started, we tried to please most people and cater to what was possible. One day I got a phone call off some white collar, already quite condescending on the telephone, as I probably am just a lowly server on the phone, with a request to come with over 20 persons in 2 days' time. I told him politely over the phone that I couldn't make the decision to take this reservation on my own, but that he could send us an email with the request and we'd talk it over with the chef, cook, and my associates to see if we could cater them. He didn't like this one bit and told me he couldn't wait that long for an answer. I immediately assumed he probably forgot to make a reservation for such a big group on time and that he failed his responsibility, but now tries to push it off on me. Like I always say, sounds like a you problem, not a me problem, but instead I ensured him he would get an answer on his email on the day itself. No, this is not acceptable, I need an answer right now. My patience was running out with this unresentful fat neck, so I politely answered, so to my understanding you need an answer immediately? Yes. With a clear sound of superiority and thinking he had one. Okay sir, if you need an answer immediately it will be very simple. That answer will be no. Sounds of crickets for a couple of seconds. So to what email address can I send the request? We got his request by email and he got an answer within 2 minutes. We're sorry, but we can't accept your request to cater your group. Kind regards, name restaurant. Stories number 34. Aita for refusing to pay my boomer-in-law's rent while I renovate their house, with only the option to buy half after they've died. Phil inherited a house from his parents, which he has rented out for the past 20+ years. The house has not been maintained in this time and is now in need of serious renovation. DH and Bill were always told they would inherit the house, like he did. Mill and Phil have their own property that has been mortgage-free for years. Until last year, me and DH were living overseas, as were my Bill and his wife. They are settled overseas and will not return to the UK. We, however, are now settling here. Luckily Phil's spare house was free when we arrived home and moved in. The kitchen had disintegrated, ceilings had come down, there was damp on the walls. Legally, there was no way they could have re-rented it. We have been working hard to get the house back into a decent standard. We've been cleaning, plastering, decorating, etc. We had expressed to Mill and Phil that we would like to stay in the house permanently and make it into a proper family home. The house needs about £100,000 worth of renovations. We were hoping that Phil would agree to sign the house over to Bill and DH now, and I would buy Bill's share. Bill isn't moving back and is also happy that we are back home to look after his parents in their old age. We understand that Phil gets a top-up to his pension from rent and we're happy to continue paying this, but with our names as owners. We thought that this way, everyone got what they wanted. Phil gets his pension top-up with none of the LL responsibilities, Bill gets a cash lump sum and free elderly care for his parents, me and DH get a house that we love and keep in the family, Mill and Phil get their grandkids around the corner from them and family to look after them in their old age. Boy, was I wrong. My in-laws have informed me that we can stay living in the house, but pay £500 a month rent until they both die, 20 years plus. I am welcome to spend my money on doing the renovations the house needs, but there will be no legal protection other than they will not legally kick me out as long as me and DH are married. Once Mill and Phil have both passed, the house will go to Bill and DH. At that point I can buy out Bill and the money I've paid in renovations will not be taken into consideration. And in the meantime I can look after them in their old age. I didn't react well to this, and this is where I could be the asshole. I told Phil in no uncertain terms that I would not be doing this and that me, DH and the kids will buy our own place which will be closer to DH's work and near better schools. We'll be about 40 minutes away from them, not too far away, but not close enough to look after their daily needs in their old age. Now everyone is upset and apparently it's all my fault. I admit I could have handled it better, but how could they think that me paying them rent for 20 years, renovating the house and then handing over at least £200,000 to Bill when I am in my 60s was even financially possible? How do they think Bill is going to be able to look after them from overseas? Stories number 35. Aita for telling my wife's stepdad our newborn son isn't calling him father. My 27M, wife's 27F, father passed away when she was 9 and her mom remarried to her stepdad when she was 15. My wife and her stepdad have always butted heads because he oversteps and has tried to force himself as a father figure in her life. When my wife's mom married him they both made it very clear that he was never going to be her dad and he basically had no control over her, and he has reluctantly accepted that over the years. Fast forward to today, my wife gave birth to our son a week ago. He is the first grandbaby on both sides, so all the grandparents are trying to figure out what they want to be called. My wife's stepdad's name is David and wants our son to call him Avi, which means father in Hebrew. My wife and I are uncomfortable with our son calling him this, so we asked him if there was another name he could go by, and he made a fuss that he intentionally didn't want to be called grandpa because my wife has made a point in the past that his actual grandpa is no longer with us. But now he's complaining that we aren't going to be happy with any name he wants to go by. Aita for telling him my son isn't calling him father. Stories number 36. My dad called my baby an accident, so I left mid-dinner. So I, 23F, had my daughter 6 months ago. I got pregnant in college, and while it wasn't planned, my partner and I, now husband, decided to keep her. My dad was pissed. He wanted me to finish school first, thought I'd thrown my life away, etc. Whatever. We haven't really talked about it since she was born, until dinner at his house last weekend. Things were fine, until my baby started crying. He sighed and goes, "Guess that's what happens when you keep an accident." Y'all. I stared at him and said, "Actually, accidents don't smile at you like that. That's a miracle crying." Then I packed up her diaper bag, scooped her up, and left. He texted me later saying I was dramatic and disrespectful in his house. Hot take. If you can't respect your granddaughter, you don't get to host family dinner. Stories number 37. My neighbor's dog ruined my sleep, so I used it to ruin his. Every night from midnight to 3 a.m. his dog would bark nonstop right outside my bedroom. Deep loud echoing barks like he was announcing the end of the world. I asked my neighbor twice to bring the dog in. Both times he brushed it off with a smirk and said he's just doing his job. Cool. Then I'll do mine. I started recording the barking on my phone. The next morning at 6 a.m. right after my neighbor got home from his night shift, I played it back full volume through a speaker pointed at his wall. I repeated that for 2 mornings. No yelling. No threats. Just his own dog giving him a taste of what I'd been dealing with. On day 3 the dog was inside before 10 p.m. hasn't barked at night since. Sometimes the best revenge is pressing play. Stories number 38. Neighbor has made it to where I can't go on the other side of my property, legal revenge. So, literally yesterday evening, I was walking from my dad's house to my house. The lots are side by side, my dad owns both lots, this is important, while my dad was walking his dog, no biggie, right? Wrong. This woman storms out of her house screeching at him about how he's on my fucking property and I'm gonna call, insert name of most likely a retired officer. Admittedly, I got loud with her after she screamed at me to stay out of it when I was just asking what's going on. She claims her deed says she owns 51 feet past her fence line. This isn't true, because if she did, she would own a strip of my house. We tried explaining this to her, she wouldn't hear it. I called dispatch in my area, because my dad has a heart condition, a fib, and has had a heart attack before. And her man, don't know their relationship, came out telling me real men don't call ladies mean names, and my reply being she's not a lady bro, I'm a girl, also, so I found it kinda funny, more of a lady than you'll ever bring home, got a beautiful woman sitting inside waiting on my home. After an officer arrives, she tries running up on me and the officer that was immediately shut down by the officer himself. He then explained to us after speaking to both me, my dad, and the neighbors, that until our county comes out go survey the properties, we're legally not allowed on that side of our property, the officer's words, not mine, and said we would be arrested for trespassing. My dad went out to walk the dog around the block instead of just around our property, and she stormed out of her house again. Instead of screaming at him, she just started recording him. I don't know what to do, but I want revenge that isn't gonna land me in jail. Any advice? Update 1. Sometime over the weekend she put up trespassing signs 6 feet over the property. I don't know what was said, I wasn't out there, but my dad lost his cool, cops showed up, and they went to the courthouse. The courthouse confirmed what both me and my dad said to her. And she apologized, saying it was her dad's house, and she just didn't want anyone near it because it was one of her last bit of him, which, and this might make me sound terrible, but I'm in a similar situation with my house, doesn't make me feel for her in the slightest. I'm about to go look around the property to see what all has been done. Stories number 39. United let someone fly using my ticket. I recently had a nightmare experience with United Airlines, and I'm seeking advice on what to do next. My original flight from LaGuardia to Chicago on December 20th, 2024, at 9:15 p.m. was changed to 4:25 p.m. without my approval. I only got a notification at 3:30 p.m. saying the flight was ready to board. Confused, I called customer service. At first, they claimed I approved the change, I didn't, then a supervisor admitted it was unauthorized because I had to be at the airport for this change, but said the flight had already left and couldn't be rebooked. I was told I'd get a call and email confirming my rebooking for December 23rd, but that never happened. They also said nothing could be resolved over the phone because the airport had full control. So, I went to the airport on December 23rd, only to find out someone had fraudulently used my ticket to board the flight using my name and date of birth. To make things worse, someone also checked a bag under my reservation with a credit card that wasn't mine. How did United let this happen without proper ID checks? The staff admitted it was ticket fraud, documented the case, and gave me written confirmation, but offered no resolution. How was someone able to use my boarding pass and check a bag that wasn't me? Mind you, I don't have a common name. I had to pay out of pocket for a new flight home and was told just to dispute it with the credit card. I've since filed a police report with the Port Authority and plan to escalate this to the FAA. United hasn't reimbursed me or explained how this breach happened, claiming that TSA security just wasn't strong. If you've dealt with something similar or have advice on how to proceed, I'd appreciate it. What more can I do to hold United accountable? Thank you guys. Edit 1. Thank you all for your recommendations and support regarding this situation. I appreciate the validation of how truly crazy this experience has been. To address some concerns, for those suggesting I may have leaked my information online, I want to reiterate that I have never posted any confirmation codes, screenshots, or personal details on social media. I've thoroughly checked the email account I used to book the flight, reviewed all security logs, and checked for any unusual login attempts. Everything appears normal. I also reviewed my credit report and checked my identity theft protection account, and there are no signs of suspicious activity or breaches. I have since disputed it with my credit card company. One possibility someone raised is that this could be the result of a rogue gate agent who either gave my ticket away to someone with higher priority or simply made a mistake. The larger issue, however, is that no one seems willing to take responsibility for what happened. I've already submitted a claim to United Airlines customer care using their online form, but I have yet to receive a response. I will give them time to address the issue, but if they fail to do so, I fully intend to escalate this matter, potentially involving a news station like you guys have recommended. As the investigation continues, I'll be sure to keep this post updated. Thank you again for your advice and support as I navigate this frustrating situation. Notable comments. This involves so many security breaches involving United, the airport, and possibly TSA that it's breathtaking. Aside from what you have planned, I'd also contact my congressional representatives for help in answering exactly the questions you have. Reply. Thank you, because I'm at a total loss for words on the sheer nonchalant behavior of the employees regarding what seems to be an insane breach. The Port Authority PD was the only people who took this seriously and helped write a report for me. Update. After 2 weeks of being dismissed and blamed by United Airlines, I finally got answers, thanks to the Port Authority police. They investigated, reviewed airport footage, and found that a gate agent rebooked someone with only the same last name as me onto my reservation after they missed their morning flight, and printed them a physical boarding pass. No other details, like first name or ID, were cross-checked. This person boarded using my ticket and even checked a bag under my reservation with a credit card that wasn't mine. United refused to investigate initially, claiming this was my fault. I felt belittled throughout the process, even though this was a clear mistake on their part. The detective 100% told me this was a fault of United, not TSA or anything. The fact that such a breach was handled so poorly is shameful. They eventually offered me flight credit only after they got caught, but it'll take a lot more than what they offered for what they put me through around Christmas. They had responded to me saying, "We investigated and found the problem, but we can't provide any details." Yeah, well, you don't have to, because the detective gave me the police report with all the information. It's hilarious how quick they emailed me back after hanging up with the detective who told me he called them. Does anyone know if I can push for direct cash compensation instead? To anyone who finds themselves in a similar situation, do not give up. I was surprised, as usually Reddit has all the answers, but I couldn't find nothing like my situation. Consider this a warning if it happens to you. Filing a police report was the best decision I made. Without the Port Authority police, this would have been swept under the rug. United should be held fully accountable. Stories number 40. Students kept cheating, so I made 24 versions of the same quiz. I could see students blatantly copying their neighbors' multiple choice quizzes. I tried to give them the teacher look to signal to them knew what they were doing and they should knock it off, but then they would play dumb and act all offended. Before quizzes they would openly say that they liked multiple choice because it meant they could cheat. They would then play it off like they were just joking, but would give a smirk. I'm pretty easy to get along with, but I despise cheating and lying more than anything. I ran my quiz through ChatGPT and told it to generate as many different versions as possible where the questions are in the same order but the multiple choice options are ordered differently each time. I labeled each quiz Form B. The look of absolute confusion when the cheaters failed miserably while the few students who tried it on their own got decent grades was fun to see. You could tell they wanted to argue because their neighbor had the same form, but a better grade, but that would mean having to cop to the cheating. Edit, yes, I had to hand grade them. I usually use grade M, but in this case it was easier to manually grade than upload 24 different quizzes and answer keys. I only had to give this quiz to about 80 kids though. Only 25 questions per quiz. Wasn't horrible. Stories number 41. All this sexist shit is insane. So I work at Home Depot, not surprising that it's an extremely sexist workplace considering what type of store it is. The amount of sexist shit I have experienced in the past 4 months is bats hit insane. OFC, it's the co-workers, but it's also the customers. Like what the fuck? Most if not all the girls trash on women, even the higher ups, but yet they're so nice to men who are douches. I don't get it. As for customers, this lady wanted help getting down a bag of river rocks cause they were too high to reach for her and too heavy, so me just trying to do my fucking job just reached for them, and as soon as my hand hit that bag she looked so offended. And looked at me and started talking about some bullshit about how she wants a man to do it. So me, obviously annoyed cause I'm just trying to do my job, asked her why the hell she wanted a man, and she goes, "Are you kidding me? You're a young lady." And then her husband chimed in and went, "No, get a man, you're a pretty young lady." I got a nail through my finger trying to get that bag. I had work gloves on. Well then, what fucking dumb ass shit were you doing to get a goddamn nail through your finger? So as I was walking away to go find a man, she yelled to me, "Don't get mad, like girl, STFU." This isn't the first time people have asked for a man either, but this interaction particularly pissed me off. But it just keeps happening and I don't understand. This other lady wanted help loading 400 pavers onto a flat cart, but the only other person in my department at the time was a girl. So I told the lady, "Okay, I'll go grab her, I'll be back ASAP," and she went, "Oh, it's a girl." I was hoping for a guy, YK, cause I hate to see girls doing work like. God forbid I have a muscle that's probably stronger than your husband's. I didn't end up helping her cause her husband did all the work anyways, and they didn't even get 400, they got more of 120. Just this shit is so fucking ridiculous, because how are you gonna complain you got no help when you're the one who refused it because your head is too motherfucking far up your ass? I fucking hate how backwards the world is going. Everyone's all the same and there's no individuality or creativity anymore, and if you are different you get ridiculed for it. It's like we're heading back to before the 50s, and it pisses me off because it's just so devastating, and it just blows my mind that these people are okay with it. Absolutely not. Stories number 42. Entitled Passenger on Plane. Wife and I were flying from Santorini to Paris recently on budget airline Transavia, subsidiary of Air France. It's like the Spirit Airlines equivalent, I guess. Anyhow, we had paid extra $4 exit row seats which come with additional legroom. Also allowed for earlier group boarding, but wife was in the toilet when boarding started, so we ended up boarding a bit later. No big deal, I thought, since we had reserved seats. When we boarded we see a lady in my exit row aisle seat. Of course, a fellow American. I informed her she was in my seat and she, without even looking up, mind you, asked if we couldn't just sit in the exit row across the aisle, which, at the moment, was empty. I of course politely but firmly told her no. At this point plane is about 75% boarded, but we are now holding up people trying to get to their seats. I moved over to let other passengers pass by and she still hasn't gotten up. After about 10 more seconds I lost my patience and finally said, "Get out of my fucking seat or I'll have the flight attendant do it," loud enough to startle her, and she finally looks up sheepishly and says, "Fine, but you don't need to be rude." And a huge huffy puffy. I quickly responded with, "I wasn't until you decided to be an entitled asshole," as she walked to the second to last row on the plane. And yes, the plane was 95% full in the end, including all exit row seats. Stories number 43. Aita for telling my sister it's not my fault she became a mom instead of finishing college. I'm always caught in the crossfire with my sister. Basically my family used me as a punching bag. My sister, 28F, had a good thing going. After high she went to college for sale and finance to do real estate. She was 17 when she got into college because she graduated early. She got in the mix with her boyfriend. At that time her boyfriend was 36 and they met because he was at a college party and he got to her. No one could tell her anything about him. It was crazy because she was deep in love with him. Our parents did not approve of this relationship because they thought it would ruin her future. She ghosted everyone. No one knew that she dropped out until 2 weeks later. She wasn't leaving her boyfriend and no one could stop. She only dropped out because he wanted her to, and I guess made her believe college wasn't good enough. She stopped calling everyone. If we would call them her phone would go right to voicemail. Anyways, she has 5 kids with her husband now, still going strong, recently had her baby on Mother's Day. I barely talk to her, off and on. She used to be fun to be around, but she finds fun in being with her kids and that's good. She cooks all day, cleans, wash clothes, lost many friends. Now that I'm in college I study finance as well. My sister didn't know because she never cared to ask because she has her own family now. I was surprised to get a call from her. We ended up having a deep conversation. That's why she finally asked what I was doing in college. I told her I was doing finances for real estate and I guess something just clicked. She asked why was I copying her, it was so random for her to ask. I told her I wasn't copying her, but she threw multiple questions at me. She then asked if I thought I was better than her because I'm taking her spot. It was weird because she was going crazy. I was trying to calm down the situation, but she added it. She was projecting on me, saying that I'm never going to be in her spot. I told her it wasn't my fault. She became a mom and didn't finish college. I made her cry. She called our mom. My mom told me what an ass I was being, and of course I second-guessed myself, so I might be wrong. Stories number 44. My 30F partner, 40NB, wants me to be involved in 3 special celebrations for their mom who died 20+ years ago. My partner's mom passed away 20 years ago. We celebrate her birthday and do special things on the anniversary of her death. I try to be mindful around those dates, since I know how much they mean to my partner. However, my partner complained recently that I didn't do something special for their mom on Mother's Day. I was across the country visiting my own family and had a flight out back home on Mother's Day itself, so I candidly didn't even have the mental bandwidth to do much other than to coordinate the special celebrations for my own mom, pack last minute after a busy trip, and head out. However, I find it silly that they want a third date where I'm expected to do something for their mom. Had she passed away a few years ago, it would at least be more understandable. But 3 celebrations for someone who died over 2 decades ago seems excessive, especially since my partner still has full freedom and support to do their own thing for her. I'm not really sure why I need to send my partner a text, get flowers, etc. My questions are, 1. Can someone please get checked to make sure I'm not overreacting here? And 2. What are some ideas around fair boundaries and compromises I can make here? TLDR. What are reasonable boundaries to set around my partner's expectation that I be involved in celebrations for their mom who died 20+ years ago? Stories number 45. I left my kids and husband at the hospital. There's a Cups cafe in the hospital. My husband's mom has been in the hospital, she's very sick. We've been going to the hospital almost every day after work and we love Cups, we get it every time we're at the hospital. Now that we're regulars, there's this barista that works there every time we are there. She looks very young, she has to be maybe 18 to 19 years old. She says she's studying at the university. The hospital is a university hospital. I'm 35 and my husband is 38. We do also have small children. My husband openly flirts with this girl in front of me. She told her that she's too pretty to be working here, and that's when she mentioned she's also a student. He gave her a $5 tip. Our coffee literally cost us $7 plus each. It's really the way he talks to her. He speaks to her so nicely and in a flirtatious way. She seems to also entertain it, the way she talks back with him. I'm watching my husband when he gets us coffee too, and even from a distance I see a vibe. I've seen them smile and laugh together. My husband told her that she makes our visit to the hospital better. Like what? Speak for yourself. She doesn't make my day better. I'm wildly insecure of a teenager now, like WTF. I got so mad I told him, why don't you just sleep with her? And he said my wife wouldn't let me. That's when I said fuck off and I left the hospital in the one car we all drove here with. Yes, I left the kids with their father. They really wanted to see their grandmother. I don't know if I'm overreacting or it's just his overly flirtatious personality taking over. He gets like this during hard times. I don't know if it's a coping mechanism, it could be, but either way I don't want to keep making up excuses for him. He is pretty friendly, but this just took it too far, honestly. He's just always more kinder to females, and I guess it bothers me because he obviously will never talk to a man like that. Tell me I'm overreacting, please. Throwaway. Posted elsewhere, thanks. Update. I left my husband and kids at the hospital. I'm F35, and my husband is M38. Long story short, my husband has been cheating on him. I've been talking about a divorce. He laughed at me and said he's gonna easily replace me with a 25-year-old. He knows that double standard is true, that women are attracted to single dads. He knows that men aren't attracted to single moms. I hate to give him that satisfaction, but I know this is an unfortunate true double standard. I do want to get married again. I want a husband. I don't want to be single forever. I don't want to be seen as a red flag by men. It's not my fault this happened. I didn't plan on my husband cheating on me. I don't want men to be repulsed by the fact that I have children by an ex. They always feel threatened and disgusted by that. I don't know. I'm so lost and hurt and scared of the possibility of starting all over again. Stories number 46. My future SIL asked me to buy her wedding decorations and I said no. My BL, husband's brother, 34M, is getting married this summer and his fiancée, future SIL, 34F, is calling on all their friends and family to do them favors. BIL and FSIL have been dating for about 1.5 years. My DH and I have made a conscious effort to make FSIL feel welcome and included in the family. However, FSIL seems to have zero interest in building a relationship with my DH and I. Which is fine. BIL and FSIL have invited about 200 people to their wedding. Which is a fairly large wedding for where we live. However, BL doesn't want to spend very much on their wedding. FSIL said that was fine because she can just call in some favors and get stuff for free. She asked her photographer friend to photograph their wedding for free. The friend initially agreed but has since dropped out. She asked her caterer friend to cater the wedding for free. Her friend agreed. Then she asked to also get the food for free and have her make the cake for free. The friend has dropped out of catering for free. She's asked our MIL to bake the wedding cake for the 200 guests for free. MIL agreed. She asked her friend with sound equipment to lend them the equipment and set it up at their venue for free. The friend declined. She asked her friend to DJ for free. The friend declined. She asked me to set up all of the wedding decorations for her ceremony. I agreed, she is going to be family after all. However, that then became, can you go to the venue and figure out all the decorations that are needed, then go out and source and buy all the decorations. No, I will not be doing that. If you can't afford to have a wedding for 200 people, then don't have a wedding for 200 people. It's not everybody else's responsibility to pay for your wedding. Stories number 47. Gym crush went wrong, what really happened? I, 24F, has been going to the gym for almost 8 years now and I'm really fit, but for some reason I've always tried to stay away from dating from the gym to avoid any conflict or awkwardness if things didn't work out, until I started having a crush on a guy from my gym and it has been going for months now. We always made eye contact and recently he started saying hi to me. Until last week he approached me, and we both ditched our workouts and kept chatting together for like 2 hours, and then he kept offering to give me a ride home and we even ran some errands together and everything was going so well. Then we took each other's number, I went home and texted him and the texting was going well till he randomly ghosted me last Thursday and he hasn't texted back since. I feel so shitty because we go to the gym at the same time usually and I'm worrying about the awkwardness. Should I say hi if I saw him or just pretend that he doesn't exist? And why do you think he did all that just to ghost me in the end? Stories number 48. Screw me over, I'll get you back, even 20 years later. When I was around 20, I let a coworker move into my spare room after he got a DUI and needed to be closer to the city. What I didn't realize was he was an openly racist, misogynistic contrarian who argued with everything just to be difficult. I blew out my knee and was barely making rent, but I managed. He broke his hand and decided to just stop paying altogether, moved out mid-month without notice. I couldn't make rent on my own, got evicted, and had to move back in with my parents. When I brought it up later, he just laughed and said, not my problem, I wasn't on the lease. Fast forward nearly 2 decades, he ends up working at my new company, where I'm now a foreman. He never moved up in his career. I remembered everything. I started making casual, obviously progressive remarks near him, like liberals are alright or immigration strengthens our country. Each time, he took the bait, erupted in inappropriate rants, and got written up. Finally, after one too many outbursts, I fired him on the spot. HR upheld it. 2 decades later, I got him back. Petty? Sure. But satisfying? Absolutely. Stories number 49. AIO for walking out of my sister's wedding after she made a joke about my miscarriage during her speech. I had a miscarriage last year at 17 weeks, and it broke me. My sister was supportive at the time, dropped off food, checked in a few times, but we didn't really talk about it much. I figured she was just giving me space. We've never been super emotional with each other, but I appreciated that she was there in her own way. At her wedding last weekend, everything was going fine until her speech. She thanked everyone, then out of nowhere said, and a shout out to my little sister for not getting pregnant again and stealing the spotlight for once. It felt like my heart dropped. There was this awkward silence, then a few laughs, but I was stunned. I got up and left the room. Sat in the bathroom crying until my fiancé came to find me, and then we left entirely. Now my mom says I overreacted and embarrassed the family. My dad says it was just a joke and I should have let it go. I haven't answered my sister's texts since. Maybe I'm still too raw about it, but I don't think what she said was even remotely okay. Stories number 50. AITA for telling my father he has no right to complain about my apartment even though he used to own it. My father moved abroad in late 2023. At the time, I was pregnant with my second child, and my husband and I were looking for a new place. Because of that, my father offered to let us buy his apartment, a 3-bedroom unit, which he was already trying to sell before moving, for a slightly lower price. We accepted, because we both liked the place. I'd lived there with my father for a few years, and the building was well located. When it comes to owning an apartment, my father and I are very different. For starters, I have 2 small children, which automatically impacts how tidy my place is. We also have different preferences regarding interior design, think contemporary, my father, versus mid-century modern, me. Additionally, my father used to make constant changes to his home, switching chairs, replacing wallpaper, etc., every few months, which I've always found exhausting. In other words, the apartment looks very different now. Last week, my father visited us for my daughter's first birthday. He didn't stay at our place, most I could offer was the couch, but came over a few times. He very clearly didn't like the way our apartment looked, nor did he attempt to hide it. He was polite during his visits, but made frequent comments about the things we'd changed. Oh, look, you had my wall painted, and how messy the place looked now. I figured he was just processing things as he hadn't been there in a while. My father left yesterday. A few hours before his flight, he called me and said he was extremely hurt by all the changes we made. During the call, he listed many of the things he disliked, including there being too much color, the fact we don't have any rugs on the floor and the lack of pictures of my grandfather, his dad. He told me he wouldn't have given us the apartment if he'd known we'd ruin it so much. I replied that he didn't give it to us, he sold it to us. The apartment isn't his anymore, and he has no right to complain about it. My father then hung up on me and boarded the plane. My husband is on my side, but still thinks I was a bit rude. Stories number 51. I, 41F, can't stop thinking about some weird behavior in between my husband, 41M, and his military buddy. Do I keep bringing this up? My husband had a pretty good military buddy who he would hang out with a few times a year. Let's call him Henry. This friend is out of state and occasionally would travel for work in our area. They would usually get dinner and he would come home. My husband had previously mentioned that this friend was bi. One night when they met up, my husband mentioned he and Henry were going to go back to his hotel for some drinks. I assumed they would be at the hotel bar. No big deal in my mind. My husband later texted me that they were actually in Henry's room having drinks. Again, I didn't think a whole lot of it. It starts getting later and later and I have texted my husband several times and not heard back from him. Finally around midnight, he texts that he is on his way back home. Keep in mind, this man gets up in the wee hours of the morning to work and does not ever stay up this late. I found this really strange and brought up my concerns to my husband. Was there really something else going on that he wasn't telling me? Is my husband secretly bi and they're sleeping together during these work dinner visits? I pressed my husband about it and he swore up and down that they were really just old friends and that nothing sexual happened. So, maybe I'm just paranoid. I also looked on my husband's phone and saw that Henry was sending my husband pics of people he had been with through IG. Men, women, didn't matter. I brought this up to my husband and he admitted that Henry had sent him a photo of his private parts. Why would that happen? I told him that was weird and I didn't like it. I asked him if Henry was sending him pics of women's private parts too and my husband denied this. However, I saw with my own eyes that my husband was getting a multitude of free porn from Henry. Fast forward to a few months later. I've basically dropped the topic. My husband randomly brought up Henry one day saying he was getting married, to a woman. What? My husband didn't know any details about her. I asked if he was going to Henry's wedding and he just calmly replied, no. Weird for being such good buddies, right? No wedding invite. Henry has also dropped off the face of the earth on social media. He didn't have a huge presence anyways, but now is completely gone. They don't text or hang out anymore. If nothing was happening, then why would a supposed friendship have ended? Because I was suspicious over something that wasn't true. Now, it's present day. I will just randomly get a nagging feeling about what happened between them. I feel like I've been lied to and I can't seem to drop it, no matter what my husband says. I love my husband like crazy and we have a great sex life and home life otherwise. We've been married for 8 years and together almost 10. I don't know what to do. Bring it up again and tell him I feel like he isn't being truthful. Or drop it for good since Henry seems to be out of his life. Stories number 52. Aita for refusing to lend my stepsister my dress even though she can't afford a new one. My stepsister, 24F, and I, 26F, have never been close. Our parents married when we were teens, and she's always kind of acted like I owed her something because her mom gave up so much to be with my dad. I have a designer dress I wore once to a gala. It's special to me because it was the first thing I bought after getting my dream job. She's going to a wedding next month and texted, "Hey, I need to borrow your dress, it's literally perfect and I can't afford a new one. Don't be selfish." I said no. She doesn't take care of her stuff, and the dress was expensive. She replied, "Wow. Must be nice to be rich and heartless." Now my stepmom is on my case about family helping family and called me materialistic. I feel bad but also like, it's my dress. Stories number 53. Aita for contemplating leaving my home to force my husband to do something with my stepson. My husband and I have been married for 15 years. During most of that time both of his children, 24F and 20M, lived with us because his ex is a crappy parent. Soon after I moved in, we had his son tested because I felt something was a little off. He was diagnosed with high-functioning Asperger's. He did well in school when he put forth the effort. Once he got to freshman year, he stopped doing all homework and refused to do anything, but the school still passed him. During that time, he and my husband got into it, and he wanted to go live with his mom because we had too many rules. Because his mother did not enforce rules, my stepson ended up dropping out his senior year. His mother then decided since he wasn't going to school, she was going to force him to sign a contract stating he would get a job by a certain date and start paying part of the bills or be out. At that time, he started crying to my husband and asked to move back into our house. My stepson and I have not had the best relationship, and at one point before he went back to his mother's I told my husband either he needed to go live somewhere else or I was out. While he was begging my husband to come back, he said things would be different, that he did want to get a driver's license and a job and start doing things to make a future for himself. I didn't feel like I really had a say in if he came back or not. This August will be 2 years since he's been back in our home, and he is nowhere closer to being a productive adult than when he arrived. He sits around all night playing video games and sleeps all day. No driver's license. No school. No job. Anytime I bring the subject up to my husband it starts an argument. His son will be 21 in July. Aita for wanting to leave to try and force my husband to make my stepson do something.